Time for Type 40. Yes, it is. Sun's out, guns out, PM's out. Let's get out of all that and geek out on your live stream Doctor Who show again, materializing here on the Spacebook channel, whatever time zone or time stream that you're joining us from across the Whooniverse. Welcome. Yeah, welcome back to Type 40 Live, jumping onto your screens, whatever size they are, in real time for content and conversation here on YouTube and Facebook in front of a live chat full of friends and companions just like you. And now we're out there in podcast form too. So thank you everybody for watching and for listening. I am Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks. And yeah, we're going to bring in my friends and companions in a moment. Thanks to everybody who's turned up already, who's on the clock. It's been a hell of a day. It's really quite hot out there, isn't it? But thanks for being here. Wherever you're watching us from, you could be watching us from the beer garden. Yeah, who knows? Let's go and see who's joined us so far. We've got, buzzing live chat here on Facebook and on YouTube. So yes, this is how it works. We are broadcasting live over to YouTube. Of course we are. It's the world's largest streaming platform, but onto Facebook too, to our wonderful community there. Hello in the Type 40 Facebook group and onto the Facebook page. So if you are on Facebook, works a little differently there. There's a little blue link. If you hit that, then it tells Facebook who you are, and Facebook passes that to StreamYard, and StreamYard tells us, and we all get on first name terms, just like Richard Brooks did. Hi, Richard. Good to see you there. And Wendology, she's here too from the Department of Wendology, all present and correct. We've got Robert Payne, who was counting us down here. He was here over an hour ago. How's that for some time travel? And Lord Thoth says hello, everyone. Daniel Leach says hello. Oh, it's good to see you too, Daniel. And lots more faces and names like Cynix there. You'll be pleased to learn, Cynix, that we have the return of starry-eyed girl Sarah Graham for the first time in this block. She's back, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Good to see you. Long time no see.
It has, yes. Life kind of gets in the way, doesn't it?
That must have been a hell of a Jubilee party that you went to. You've only just woken up.
I feel like it is so warm. Yeah, please excuse the... I'm all over the place. I've got the fan on. And I know I shouldn't complain because this is England. And we've actually got nice weather. But yeah, I'm just a bit... Whew.
Oh, excuses. Do you believe any of this, JT? What do you think? Should we let her off?
With what? I'll just remind you, though, sorry, it's Britain.
Well, I do apologise, Britain.
Bloody English, they always forget. So anyway, hi, Spacebookers. This is going to be a great show. Have you seen the title of this show? I am so excited. I have got my food ready. I am really excited about this. I am all set for this, because this is the title of the show, isn't it?
It is indeed. Back to the feature. We're talking, features.
Close enough.
It was near enough. We'll fill you in on all of that as we're going along. Let's bring in, he's even wearing the right t-shirt. Look, check out Ian David Deers, the mega geek. He's accessorizing.
There you go.
Yeah, very nice.
He read it wrong too.
Yeah. Yeah, we're doing a completely different stream.
Oh, get off then.
John Coogan's here in the live chat on YouTube. Ian, obviously, he's come just to take sartorial tips from you. What's on your shirt, JT?
What's that say?
K9. It's K9.
K9 timetails, yes.
And fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see what's going on. We've got Queen Charlotte here too. Charlotte Shields. Hi, Charlotte.
Hello,
how are things
everybody.
with you?
Good. A very good week for me.
Oh, fantastic. We've heard you've got some good news in your off-screen life. Wonderful stuff. Julian Raxel says, good evening, everyone. I hope you're all well.
Good evening.
Good evening. Well, too, Julian.
Well and warm, I'm delighted to report, Julian.
Yeah, and lots of the usual names. Kelly's here too. And Richard Brooks says, it's Type 40 Thursday. Hooray. Glad to be with you fine folks this lovely summer evening.
Exactly.
And Lord Thoth reminds everybody, just in case you haven't already, you're going to be having way too much fun later on, aren't you? So please like the video now, subscribe to the channel. That helps a lot more than you think. There's a lot of people out there that watch and never subscribe. What's the worst thing that can happen? We get you popping. You get us popping up on your screen a couple of times a week.
Don't tempt fate, Dan.
And hit the little cloister bell so you get the notifications, so you find out what we're doing and when we're doing it. And last but not least, yes, she's back, nicely recovered, though heaven knows where she's materialising in from. It's Shah from Geek Rambles back on Type 40 Live.
Isn't it tragic? Look at that. I know I'm not used to not having a background, although I kind of look good in this light, so that's okay. I can deal with that.
You need a wind machine to the side.
It looks like, I know.
Toss your hair around.
It's so echoey in here, and just I've not even got a bed in here, folks. So yeah, just
Actually,
let me know.
the truth is she's actually auditioning for a Alberto Balsam shampoo advert.
What do you think? No, definitely not.
Is it a long stretch you're doing? You got like a couple of months, was it? Or
She's worth it.
Yeah, that's the real reason I wasn't here last week. Yeah.
We've got lots of people in the chat talking. Yes, we've got John Lialden who says good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
And various other people. All the familiars are here too. Tony L says hi. And people are pleased to see you too here, Sarah. So yay, Starry says Jason Finn. So what have you been doing over the last few weeks, Sarah? I hear you've been binge watching a little. Swatting up.
Oh God, I've been everywhere. I've been. Well, first I went to London because I went to see Queen and Adam Lambert, and that was amazing. Then I wasn't very well, so I ended doing the binge watching. So I've been watching Heartstopper and Sex Education, and then obviously Stranger Things when that came out. So I've been I've been a proper couch potato.
So you've been doing research on Shooty Gatwa then? Is that what's been going on?
That's what I'm calling it, yes, Dan. That's what I'm calling it.
How did you find this show? Because I've decided that I'm not going to watch it. I think I'm going to wait until we see what he's like as the Doctor, Ian. You know, because I've never seen this show and it's not really aimed at me, I think. So I'm going to wait. But how did you find it, Sarah?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It really exceeded my expectations. I just assumed it would be a sex, teen comedy, which, part of it is. But, there's some really beautiful characters in it. There's some beautiful moments, really dramatic moments. And the young cast are just amazing. You've got really heavyweights like Gillian Anderson in this.
And she's brilliant,
and they're
isn't
all, absolutely. I mean, she's brilliant anyway, but they all... match her, and Shooty's brilliant. I got to be fair, I'm not really seeing the Doctor, but then again, it's a completely different role, so I'm not really, expecting. I mean, I watched Jodie in quite a few things, and I had really high expectations, and then obviously.
Oh, Starry!
I know. So I'm not going to say anything, but for what he was doing, it was a joy to watch, and he's a joy in interviews. He's really charismatic. So, So
the signs are good there. We've given Shooty a bit of a hard time on this show the last few weeks because of his sartorial choices, Charlotte, haven't we? We've been quite. Some of us have been more forgiving than others. I think Simon Horton is the most scathing.
Some of us have had fun with the fashion sense, haven't we?
Yeah.
So we're going to give Shooty an easier time this week, but I thought I'd have to show you guys. This is young Shooty Gatwa there. So.
Adorable.
He is, isn't he? And lots of bright colours going on there too. I don't know if that's Burberry. We'll have to wait until Simon Horton gets back until we find out what that is. But it's a cracking picture. Bless his heart. And there'll be more, no doubt, when he does start doing the rounds of interviews and whatever else. We'll keep our eyes peeled and ears open for more from Shooty, because I haven't really heard him say a great deal about anything. We just know that he's appearing on T-shirts now himself. So, Sarah, did you see this last week? We were all over this story about Ryan Gosling. How are you with this?
I thought it was brilliant. I know it's caused a bit of a hoo-ha with
it has a little, hasn't it?
With the, the designer of the image, but
doesn't everything.
If you're going to get somebody modelling your work, why not Ryan Gosling? I just thought it was really sweet because obviously Shooty's doing the film with him, and I just think it's really nice that he's supporting his friend. They're obviously good friends on set, and it's not the first time Ryan Gosling's been tied to Doctor Who.
No, him and Matt Smith, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I just, it brightened my day, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought it might. How were you with this, Shah? Did you immediately go and order one of these T-shirts when you saw it? Because you weren't here last week either, were you? So how did this sit with you?
Isn't it wonderful? I do love that, and I did see it all sort of blow up as well when the designer of that T-shirt saw how much recognition it had got. What a great moment for it. And isn't it wonderful? I love it. And I've heard that if you buy it, all of it goes to charity. Am I right in that one?
That's right. 50% of what he makes does go to charity. We did put the link in the show notes last week. I'll do it again this week. The artist's name is Matthew Purchase, is it? Yeah. So good on him. Good on him for doing that. And this week the publicity. I don't know if you've seen this, but Russell T Davies has been out again just when things were quietening down, JT, because we were saying how Russell, for a man who said he wasn't going to tread on anybody's toes, he was saying a lot and showing us quite a lot. But he was on one of the biggest fixtures in British TV this week, wasn't he? Did you see him on the One Show?
No.
I didn't think he would. So we've got a quick look at this was what he thought Russell T Davies had to say about this whole T-shirt business just a couple of nights ago on the One Show.
Doctor Who fans will be very happy to see Ryan Gosling wearing the Shotty Gatwa T-shirt, the new Doctor Who. There he is there. Is there some kind of like secret code behind this move from Ryan Gosling that you
Let
tell
me
us
tell
about?
you, Jermaine, you're a beautiful man. If Ryan Gosling was in Doctor Who, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be in Cardiff with my good mate Ryan having a drink.
Fair point.
He's shooting a film with Shooty Gatwa, who's he's shooting the Barbie movie together. Barbie film. Yeah. They're both playing Ken, I think. I think there were lots of Kens.
Yes.
So,
secretly, I can't wait to see that.
That should be good, isn't it? Yeah,
should be good.
A bit of fun there. Russell out on the circuit already. There'll be more about Russell T Davies and his appearance on the One Show earlier this week, later on in the show. But apparently Shooty is playing Ken after all, and so is Ryan. Heaven knows what's going to happen there. I may take a look at that film. What do you think, Ian? Are you going to go and see the Barbie film?
No. Why would I want to go and see that? I wouldn't want to go and see that. No.
The thing is, I really don't actually want to see it.
I mean, if my nieces want to go and see it, I'll take them. But
Here come the excuses. Yeah.
It's got to have an Aqua soundtrack though to do it properly.
It wouldn't be right, would it, if it didn't?
I was going to say, we all know Mega Geek. You really just want to see Ryan Gosling, don't you? That's really you secretly want to see.
No. Really, no, not at all. Sounds like a ghastly idea.
It's a strange one, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've got Beatrice Garrido watching in the chat too. Beatrice is an artist. We're going to be looking at some of her work later on. No pressure, Beatrice. We've got lots to come up later on in the Pretty Pictures segment. As always, you're going to love that as well as everything else that you've come to know and love here on Type 40 Live. All this thing with Russell T Davies, though, him popping up here and there and saying something but not saying nothing, it really does show what's been lacking in the show for a while. Now, I just heard today that apparently Chris Chibnall is not going to be present at Comic-Con this year. So this is San Diego Comic-Con. It kicks off on Thursday, the 21st of July, runs through to the Sunday. Obviously, traditionally, this has been, up until the pandemic, certainly the big global event of the geek calendar. Now, apparently Chris Chibnall has produced this 90-minute epic that we're going to see later in the year, and yet he's not going to be there to promote it. It doesn't look like any of the cast are. We haven't got cast iron confirmation of that, but it does look like the BBC, any form of BBC Studios and Doctor Who are going to be a no-show at Comic-Con. Are you surprised by this, JT?
Well, not at all, because they all finished last year, so they're out of contract and out of obligation. Also, I don't think there's any way, any reason to go and publicise something that they can't really show or talk about or want to necessarily, because it's not coming out till October for the BBC's 100th anniversary program of programs. Yeah. So I don't think we should read too much into this. I just think it makes sense, because next year they're going to have a hell of a lot to do to publicise the show's 60th. So that's going to be a global thing, I would imagine, to try and get that through, with a lot of events having to happen in Britain, of course, to get it back in the public eye.
Yeah, some people are very surprised by this, but I can't say that I was. I mean, Chris Chibnall is, for all that I can see, long gone from that position. He's not under contract anymore. He never liked doing that kind of stuff in the first place, did he, Shah?
No, whether he's out of contract or not, I genuinely couldn't care less. And I know that sounds really bad, but it's more just because I just think he's hardly put any effort into it anyway, like you said. So it doesn't come as a surprise. Am I that bothered? Not really. So yeah, whether he's out of contract or not doesn't really make that much difference in my humble opinion.
Yeah, and he just doesn't suit that setting. We all said last year when we had to watch the Flux sort of panel, like recorded thing they did, it wasn't even live, so you could argue maybe it wouldn't be as bad for him to be on stage, and he still came across as awkward, as he didn't want to be there. And I heard this rumor as well, and I'm just like, of course, he needs to be a showman at Comic-Con, and that's not Chris Chibnall at the end of the day.
That's the feeling. Yeah, I agree with you. That is the feeling that you get, is that he just doesn't want to, he just doesn't care, he doesn't want to be here. And that's fine, but don't be a showrunner.
Somebody who wanted to be here but couldn't because he's having too much of a good time. I've got to bring this up. As Richard Brooks mentions here, I hope Simon is enjoying the tennis, and that's true. Yes, so Simon Horton, the original Lunatic, he isn't here. He's in Wimbledon at the moment, so we do hope that he's enjoying himself. He loves...
Yeah, we want photos, Simon.
Yeah, well, I've already seen some photos. As you can imagine with Simon, he's out there. He was on centre court yesterday, and he was suited and booted like the style icon that we would expect. He doesn't just talk the talk. He walks the walk too. But we're still going to have a fashion segment, everybody, because now it's not, obviously, it's 2022. It's the 40th anniversary of Peter Davison's very first appearance as the Fifth Doctor, my Doctor. And I think it's fair to say that over the years, I've always loved this costume, Ian. I've loved it for what it is. Would I ever go out dressed like this? Probably not. But you know what it's like? Well, fashion is fashion, isn't it? I mean, some things never go out of fashion, do they? Like your T-shirt, Ian.
Yeah, we'll never go out of fashion.
But what goes around does come around, and often, everything comes into fashion at some point. So people who would go out dressed like that, well, maybe not in 1982, but we did have this very week. This was over at New... Oh my gosh. So this is what's going on. You say, "Oh my God, Shah," but this is what's going on at New York Fashion Week, no less. So this is we've got to take this seriously, haven't we?
It's not going on in the Midlands, Dan, is it? Can you imagine us Midlanders going out like that?
Yes, you'll see this round the bull ring. I'm sure this time next year. So the designer is Tom Brown, Sarah, and it's from New York Fashion Week, and it's from the ready-to-wear range. To wear to what? How? I don't know. What do you make of this?
You'll be able to get into a lift with that.
It looks like Hydroflax in a dress.
Oh dear.
I've never seen anything quite like it. But there's something very rude on the top of the item there. I can't quite work out what that's supposed to be. Tenpin bowling, maybe, I don't know.
But is this a joke?
Oh, do you know what? I'm even trying to critique it. Like it's something I even understand.
Is it a joke, though? Or is it
Apparently
real?
not, mate. Apparently not. This was serious. It was on the catwalk earlier in the week, and Tom Brown is a noted designer, is he not, JT?
He is indeed, and I have to point out that these are not meant to be worn. These are overexpressive.
Why am I not surprised?
These are overexpressive designs from fashion designers who are saying these are elements of what could possibly come through. So it's a huge chain. I mean, I love the fashion industry. I think it's amazing. I love the way it works. I love the creativeness behind it. I love the way that they can go slightly theatrical. But it has a huge influence. The materials, the colors, the looks of the thing have a massive effect on the chain right down to Primark. It might not be immediate, but I can guarantee you there will be cricket jumpers back in the shops either this year or next.
Wow.
So this is more a statement of intent, and that little things will be taken from this rather than saying this is what everybody will be wearing. Oh, I see. I knew that somebody would be able to shed some light on this. Tony L has chipped in on the live chat. New York Fashion Week. Oh my giddy aunt. It's ace though. Looks a bit like a lampshade. The boots, the boots are good. I was trying to work out what she was wearing on her feet there, because it does look a little bit like
Well, it'd be to do with the whole thing about Britain and the Jubilee. There were several of them were tying into the fact that it was the Queen's Jubilee this year. The red, white, blue theme. The whole there was some stuff. I don't know if it was New York Fashion Week or London Fashion Week, where there was a lot of Union Jacks in the suits and in the shoes and in the socks and in the hat, whatever it was going to be. You know, that was all bled into them as well.
Yeah, Archer Collins says that I have long since come to the conclusion that the whole idea of this sort of thing is for designers to see just how stupid they can get celebs to look, and lots of people. Daniel Leach is just he's firing off the emojis there. I think we're going to have to give Daniel a few minutes to get over that one. We have our own style icons here at Type 40 Live, of course we do, and you know the jury's still out. The jury's still out from those two. Maybe they'll change their minds later on in the show. What do you think, Ian?
No. Why?
Robert Payne, this is called it gives the old designers from It's a Knockout.
Yeah.
Remember It's a Knockout, anybody?
Yeah, well, only we know what It's a Knockout. These young ladies here.
I know, but I've taken part in it.
It's like, here come the Belgians and all these guys that sort of come down in these great big foam.
The royal family.
It's like,
Wasn't
amazing
it
stuff.
The royal family, yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, you wouldn't see the royalty making public fools themselves now, would you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Maybe you would. Okay, let's talk about television royalty for a couple of minutes. I noticed this just yesterday that Mona Hammond has passed away.
Oh, shame.
Oh, that was sad.
So this is Mona is one of those actors, one of those faces that we may not necessarily remember her name because she used to disappear into her characters, didn't she? But everybody would recognise her. She was one of the great TV nans, I think, JT.
I only know her for Doctor Who, so I can't really comment on it because I don't know her because I recognised her from Doctor Who and that's it.
She's been in a couple of episodes of Desmond.
She was a long-running cast member of Desmond's, the big Channel 4 sitcom that starred Norman. What was his name?
Beatty.
Norman Beaton. That was it. And she was on EastEnders for several years, playing Blossom Jackson. So she was Bianca Jackson, Patsy Palmer's nan on that. She was on it for several years. But it turns out that I didn't know that Mona Hammond was an OBE, and she was the co-founder of this huge theatre company sometime in the mid 80s. But before that, she'd done all the shows that you would expect her to be in, Ian. So she was on The Sweeney, she was in Walcott, she was in Casualty, all those things.
Especially Walcott.
That was a very early police drama.
The very first police drama that featured a black lead in the history of TV, history of British TV. Yeah, so
it was made by Houston Films, wasn't it? So it was quite a glossy film show made by the people who made The Sweeney and all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And she did 2 stints on Coronation Street, very short stints before that longer stint on EastEnders. But for the sake of Doctor Who, we're going to know her as Mickey's nan. Mickey's nan there in The Rise of the Cybermen, Rita Ann Smith. So what was the story behind this character, Sarah? Do you remember?
Yeah, she kept giving Mickey a good old scotch, didn't she?
A scotch? What's a scotch?
A scotch. A slap.
Yeah, she probably flattered him.
Yeah.
She was the alternative grandmother, wasn't she? She was in the parallel world.
She was in the real world. In the Earth, she died. She tripped over a carpet on the stairs. So then when he goes to the house, he was telling her about you need to get that carpet changed.
Oh, that line breaks my heart when he does that. When he chokes up saying it, it's saying you're going to fall and break your neck. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Because wouldn't it be wonderful if I could go visit my grandma in the parallel world? Wouldn't that be lovely?
Yeah.
She looks a bit like my grandma. Yeah. She does a bit. So
it's one of those plot lines. I agree.
All the time.
Proper old grandma,
I agree with you though, Shah. I find a lot of the plot lines and these smaller characters, because Mona wasn't in Doctor Who for very long. I think it was only a scene or two.
Should have been way longer, yeah.
Exactly, it makes a big impact because of that statement. Like you've just communicated there so well. I felt that about several stories in the original Russell T Davies era, I mean, particularly Father's Day, that was a big one. But it was something they would do, and Russell and his writers seemed to be able to not just cast it well, because obviously Mona was perfect for that part. She'd been on TV for decades, but to just write that kind of part so beautifully and without it being too saccharine. So yeah, there's scenes, little scenes like that can stay with people. Her other connection to Doctor Who is very, very loose, but she played another TV nan. She was Joe Martin's nan on The Crouches. That was a sitcom that ran for a couple of years in the mid-noughties there. And a lot of good actors.
Sorry, is that Patrick as well from EastEnders?
Patrick, that's Rudolph Walker. He was there.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And lots of great actors. Danny John Jules is in there too, from Red Dwarf and Death on Paradise, and Don Warrington, of course, the
Robbie
audio
G.
Rassilon.
Robbie G.
Lots of good people. So I know 91's a good age, but I will miss seeing Mona Hammond in on the telly, just like I do with a lot of actors that are no longer with us. We talk most weeks, don't we, about these great British character actors that are no longer with us, and how it's all we can do is really salute them and say rest in peace. Kelly says here in the chat on YouTube, my grandma never hit me. She tried to hit my brother once, but the dog kept her away.
Well, it depends. If they come from the West Indies, they're pretty good at bumping you one. And pretty good chasing you around the house and stuff. So yeah. My grand's hit me.
Ask Freddie Henry. Half of his
exactly
are about his mum.
Yeah.
Exactly like that.
Let's not go down that route, though. Let's move on. Let's move on. We're not that sort of show.
Simon Ashley says here that with Geek Rambles, Queen Charlotte and Starry Eyed, is this the makings of a girl band?
How did you know?
You're not allowed to have girl
She's
bands in this day and age,
auditioning
Simon.
Who plays the drums?
I suppose I have the mic if it was a bit smaller for a girl band, haven't I?
Yeah, you guys are all right. I'm just trying my best to keep this freestanding one actually afloat while I'm just sat on your desk up. So you guys go for it. I'll be the girl who dances at the back very badly.
The spicy girl, says Peter Harrington. We've got more Doctor Who family talk here. I don't know. Now, you're going to love this one, Ian, because you've had the one candidate that you keep coming back to for potential Doctor. As long as I've known you, you keep mentioning one actor in particular, don't you?
Yeah.
Who am I talking about?
You're talking about Tom Ellis.
I am indeed, and Tom Ellis has reunited this very week over on Freema Agyeman's Instagram. We talk sometimes about Freema Agyeman's social media because there's a lot of sight gags that she does on there, lots of things like this. We're looking at a picture now on screen of her reunion with Tom Ellis after 12 years. She says there in the caption, it says, "Did someone say Satanist?" You know. He played Lucifer on TV for 5 years, something like that.
Long time, yeah.
Great show.
Yeah, it is a good show.
Yes, it is.
But it's lovely, Charlotte, when you see our actors here, who, again, Tom Ellis was in 2 episodes of Doctor Who, something like that. But there's just something kind of sweet about seeing them back together again, isn't there?
Yeah, and it's obviously because I think some people thought there might have been a bit of a romantic sort of thing with their characters in the little plot they had. Yeah, so it sort of feeds into that, and it just feels like a lot of the actors, whether they were like main cast or background from Russell's first run, they just seem to get on so well. And they just seem to all want to sort of, if they meet each other again, it's like family meeting, like you said again, almost.
But they both have made it huge in America, those two, haven't they? I mean, Lucifer and that medical show that she's in, you know, it's still going, as I believe.
And also, can I just say, they both aged brilliantly. If you compare that photo.
Oh yeah, wow, they look amazing.
We have comment upon comment saying the same thing in the chat here. Jack Thursby says that Freema hasn't aged a day. We love Freema, says Daniel Leach. I think Daniel's got a bit of a crush there, and I can't say I blame him.
I don't blame him at all. She's gorgeous.
It is lovely to see them together again. I've always got a kick out of seeing these actors back together, the classic series actors and the new series actors. Another thing that I enjoy is seeing people create on social media. Now, I saw this earlier this week. This is the
I love that.
That's so cute.
The lady Cassandra there. So this is I think it's wool, actually. What do you think that is? Any experts here?
It's kind of wool. It's wool, isn't it? It's definitely wool.
Yeah. So I saw that earlier in the week, and I just thought it was wonderful. So I shared it on the social media, and to my surprise, it got over on Twitter, on the Type 40 Twitter account, this got the biggest response of anything that we've ever put out on social media. And I'm talking, Sarah, the podcasts, the live streams, all the other silly stuff that we share. This, and yet this generated more retweets and tweets and comments than anything else. So it's the work of Christy Roberts. I don't even know who Christy is. It's just something that I saw when I was scrolling through. So if you are out there, Christy, we think this is wonderful. I can't credit her enough. Lots of people seem to take pleasure.
There's clearly a gap in the market. This is
yes.
We want more. We absolutely do. And yeah, we want more followers on the Type 40 Twitter account. So please look us up there on Twitter and Instagram at Type 40 Doctor Who. And send us your crafts and your art and tweet us back and share our links and whatever else that we've been up to. Why do we do it all? Well, we do it all for the simple love of all things Doctor Who, whatever they're wearing, on or off screen. They're our legends, our Time Lords, our companions, and that's what we're here to celebrate here on Type 40, where the world's longest running science fiction and fantasy series meets good old-fashioned common sense as we head into that 60th anniversary, everybody. Colin there looking pensive. I don't know what he's just done in there. I think he's saying I'd give that 5 minutes. I think that's what he's saying.
Probably.
Let's take a look and see what people have picked up on here in the live chat. That looks great, says Lord Thoth. Yes, it does, doesn't it? And it would probably a tantalising mug, says Richard Brooks. I have what? Oh, he means Type 40 mugs. People ask about our mugs all the time. I also want to give a quick shout out too. He couldn't make it for this show, but I wanted to call out our mate Matt Pott because he was watching us. He was watching us, Shah, when we were on a few weeks ago. Now he's watching back the show that he was on. So there's us there on screen, and that's Matt Pott's Starship Enterprise that he's got, which is a sort of one of those Fisher Price sets, Sarah.
Yeah.
You've got the little figures, and you can obviously open the top and see into the Starship Enterprise's bridge. I know you have no idea what the Starship Enterprise is, JT, so this will be new to you. But there we all are there, and the crew are watching Type 40 live. Like,
I wish one of us was smiling in that. We look so miserable, all of it.
Yeah, but Shah,
you're concentrating, obviously.
Shah, at least you look like your eyes are open. I look like I've been hit in the face, and I'm like recovering.
So thanks to Matt Pott. We do hope to have him back on the show again soon.
That. Yeah, it's great.
Again soon too. Because that was a fun show. Despite how it may look, we were enjoying ourselves, and I know that you guys were too. So yeah, please go and catch up with all the other videos and check out the comment section too, because when we do these live streams in the week, we tend to get lots and lots of comments, and the conversation does roll on. We really appreciate that, and there'll be some more feedback episodes of the podcast and things coming up soon. Okay, what's next? Let's get into what's going on this week in Doctor Who. What's everyone talking about this week? This was a massive surprise when this story broke, because over the last couple of weeks, we've spoken a little bit about Doctor Who movies, the Doctor Who movies that starred Peter Cushing that were made all the way back in the mid-60s. They were made by Amicus Studios, and at the moment, they're releasing them all again on 4K Blu-ray in these collector's sets, and they're at cinemas for the first time in literally decades, in a remastered form too, at smaller cinemas all up and down the country. And we have recorded special podcasts where we're talking about these, and we are going to do a big deep dive on Peter Cushing himself, because it's a fascinating story. It really is. And this week, obviously over the last, when was it? No, it was 2 weeks ago, sorry, they had a big screening event for the both movies in front of a live audience, and there was a Q&A and all sorts of things going on. And that was when this, I don't know if you'd call it an urban myth of Doctor Who history, JT, but it's something that we've been hearing about this for decades, haven't we? The lost, missing third Doctor Who film that would have been made by Amicus, would have maybe starred Peter Cushing, but maybe not. We always felt we knew what it was, but it's turned out that we were quite a way off the mark, weren't we? Because we've had fresh revelations about this from that screening, and now they've been made public this week with an article in the Daily Telegraph, haven't they?
They have indeed. I mean, this is just one of those things. I mean, when I heard this and saw this coming through the other day, I was just, I was smiling, because from the whole of the 80s onwards and straight into the 90s as well, there was an awful lot of stuff going on about various films that were being made, none of which came to fruition, apart from if you include the 1996 TV movie. And it was just interesting to see that they had come through, because it was a spin on what we were expecting. We knew that there was going to be a Peter Cushing film, but part of me is still not convinced that there wasn't that sequel that was coming through from a Peter Cushing film. And maybe that's an urban myth, I don't know. But because I heard about that thing before the late 80s when this one was pitched. But it's interesting, because I think this will be one of the ones that was possibly, if it made it to the BBC, was rejected by the BBC.
Because it's important to say, isn't it, that any plan for anything involving Doctor Who, just as it is now, really, I mean, I'm not sure how it'll be with Bad Wolf, but certainly up until that point, things had to be, I don't want to use the word vetted, but it's their intellectual property, isn't it? And they did safeguard it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, any deal that went through, whether it had been through the Dalton Trays or Greenlight or Coast to Coast or anybody like that, the deal that was offered was just the rights to the film. It didn't include the television rights, so the filmmakers wouldn't have been able to take over the TV show. And more importantly, it never, ever included the merchandise rights. The merchandise rights sat very firmly with BBC Enterprises, which is now BBC Studios, so that never, ever was up for a debate. And that's what put a lot of people off. But people still wanted that film. And merchandise, of course, would have helped to finance a sequel. But the BBC always would have kept that in any deal. So it was very interesting to read this one. It's just one of those other things where you think, hang on a minute, that is interesting. And I do vaguely remember something about this, but I have a sneaking suspicion it's one of those that the production at the BBC would have gone, no, thank you. And we always have to remember as well as we carry on that John Nick Turner especially was insistent that whichever actor was playing the lead on his television show must also play the lead in a film.
Oh, I see. Because obviously Milton Subotsky and Gordon Fleming, they had produced and written and directed those two films back in the 60s. But the intention had always been, they had, though, that's true, isn't it? There were rights for a third one. And if the second one had done bigger business, they almost certainly would have made a third one. But the project sort of entered into development hell. And we've heard, and that's where the sort of the myths started to build up, and obviously I suppose rights would have been renewed, but the entire time they would have probably kept working on ideas. People do sometimes work on ideas. I remember several years ago, Shah, the director David Yates, who works on the Harry Potter films, he wanted to make a Doctor Who film for some time, went mouthing off about it. I think it was in the press, and Stephen Moffat really took exception to that. Do you remember that story?
No, and I've not heard that. The only person I know, or director I know, and the name has completely escaped me. He does the Hobbit films as well.
Peter Jackson.
That's the name. I was really struggling then, and that he would do that and all he wanted was a life-size Dalek as his payment. But he's the only one I knew. I had no idea that there was others out there. Although I'm not surprised.
Yeah, Doctor Who films have been long, since Tom Baker and Ian Marter with Scratchman, which we've talked about on previous shows, go back and have a look at them, have been wanted and very much looked at as a pot of money for producers and production companies. It's never been able to come to fruition because, of course, the British industry was, it was just going down the toilet back in the 70s, and it was disappearing to a basis. It could happen today because it's bad, but it's not as bad. It could happen today, but it's always been, Doctor Who's always been a target for. That would make a great film.
Crimpling de Bloon here says, Ian, my dad used to drink in the same pub as Gordon Fleming.
Really?
Gordon Fleming, of course, is the father of Jason Fleming, the actor and director we know from such films as Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels and X-Men First Class, that kind of thing, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yep.
A big deal. But Milton Subotsky, it seems like he's the one really that couldn't let the idea of making that third film completely die. So it seems that that we'd heard about this over the decades, but this week his sons were present at this screening, and they had they were talking at length and taking questions from the audience. But I don't think anybody expected that they would bring along this script that fandom had sort of got got it into their heads after all that it probably didn't exist. But no, there it is, in fully bound paper form, available to read. So this is Sergei and Dmitry Subotsky, and they confirmed that their father continued to work on versions of this story, of this production, of this idea, and that this entire script called Doctor Who's Greatest Adventure existed, completed, finished. It's credited there to Edward and Valerie Abraham, and they are just two names that are, of many that are kind of locked into this too. We're not quite sure, are we, where and who and how contributed to this. That could be lost to the mists of time completely. But thanks to the Daily Telegraph and the journalist and I suppose you could call him a film historian, Matthew Sweet, thanks to him, we now have a few of the, I suppose you could call it the rudimentary ideas about what this film would have been and why. So it seems that we've debated before how the two Dalek films from the 60s are more Dalek films than Doctor Who films. But the Daleks weren't going to be present. They're not in this script for Doctor Who's Greatest Adventure at all. And yet for years, again, the popular myth, JT, was that this was going to be based on The Chase, wasn't it? This third film would always have been based on The Chase, which featured the Daleks and was written by Terry Nation.
I think that was still possible. I mean, everyone's attached themselves to the fact that this could be the third film, but we don't know how long they had the rights for. I mean, it's sort of been around forever that they wanted to do a third Dalek film with Peter Cushing, and yes, it would have been possibly based around The Chase, and that would have been a fun romp for that. And then this one has come up here, and from my point of view, it's just got to be added to the Return of the Varnaks, the Last of the Time Lords, the Fall of Gallifrey, every single else that came through in the 90s after it as well. It just got forward because we know that the production office were getting and BBC Enterprises were getting scripts after scripts after scripts, and it'd be interesting to see if after all the publicity this week on this one, how many more suddenly appear now to say, oh yeah, we submitted something as well, and here it is, and this one's from 1989.
Yeah, it's possible this could open a floodgate, because that definitely happened with the Dalton Roy's Coast to Coast project that was known as Doctor Who: The Last of the Time Lords, wasn't it? That's what it's most famously known as. But there was about 6 scripts to that, and that was a whole other thing entirely. Now, obviously, the first question we ask as Doctor Who fans is who would have played the Doctor in this, because Peter Cushing had been in his mid-50s back in the 60s when he played Doctor Who in those films. But by the time that this got the closest it was going to get to happen, Cushing was considerably older. In fact, he made his last screen appearance in 1985 in the movie Biggles. And so you think, well, he would have been advancing in years by the time that this was gearing up to enter some sort of production. But it turns out that Peter Cushing wasn't actually in their minds for this film at all. They were coming at it. They were coming at it again in the mid-80s. They were looking at it more as a cultural thing that was 20 years older. And so apparently this film would have actually featured 2 versions of Doctor Who. It still would have been called Doctor Who, as he was in those earlier films. But it would feature 2 incarnations of the character, a younger one and an older one. And they wanted the older one to be played by John Pertwee. John Pertwee, who would have celebrated his 103rd birthday this very day. So obviously, happy birthday there, John. They had a mindy, and I know that John was your Doctor, wasn't he? So they had a mind that they should return the Doctor to the screen, initially played by an older character actor, a overtly patriarchal figure.
Can I just ask a question? And I'm sure you've covered it before, so I'm waiting for you to say it. But why is Peter Cushing not canonly? Canon?
Because he plays an Earth character called Doctor Who. Who is his surname?
Because those two films are adaptations of 2 TV stories. So they basically take the same scripts and they trim them down and take them onto that new medium in the same way that you see it now sometimes, where they make what was it called, Edge of Darkness. That was originally a TV show that starred Bob Peck, and they turned it into a film starring Mel Gibson, and it's based on the same story, the same.
And if you want to know more, then have a look at the Spacebook channel, because we've done some specials. We've started with one is out now, where you can actually see our review of Doctor Who and the Daleks and go into that sort of stuff. And coming soon, very soon, there is the sequel to that, where we look at Daleks 2150 AD. So if you're going to see them this Saturday, tune in to our podcast and our streams and join in the conversation and let us know what you think.
Everything you could possibly want to know about both those two films will be covered on those two podcasts. Yes, it is. But yeah, John Pertwee, back in the TARDIS in the mid-80s. I think that people would have probably have responded to that. John Pertwee was obviously several years on Wurzel Gummidge as well as Doctor Who. Pretty much everybody knew who he was, Sarah. And I think to a generation of people, okay, Tom Baker cast the longest shadow. Of course he did. But I think I can see why they were attached to the idea of Pertwee, because he's enough, how can I put this? I wouldn't describe him as a movie star as such, but he had something of what Peter Cushing had in the role. I think that if you're looking at that it was the same creative team, I could see why they would look to him. Maybe.
Sorry, there was a delay there. No, I can see it, because he's got that kind of twinkly-eyed, like what Peter Cushing had, and
he's less alien than Tom Baker, I think, is what I'm pointing to.
Well, Pertwee was still a showman, and he was still people would. I mean, back then in the 80s, he was huge for Wurzel Gummidge, so a whole new generation discovered him. A lot of people still come to his performances in the Carry On films. He was still very much around, so and he would have done it. He would have loved to have done it as well. I think that's one of the elements that wouldn't have got through the production team at the BBC, though, because they would have been insistent of having the incumbent Time Lord, which possibly at this stage would be Peter Davison, possibly even to Colin. But we know what happens after 85 and everything goes pear-shaped and everybody goes, ooh. But, I mean, from a fan point of view, if you've got one of the actual doctors in a film, you're still going to support it. If it's a new casting, and that's what this film actually explores as well. If you look at this script, it explores the fact that there's a handover.
Can I ask a question?
It's a tricky role to cast, though, isn't it, Ian? Because it's one thing for an actor to drop into a character like the Doctor and to potentially have 1 or 2 or 3 seasons to develop it, but in over 90 minutes to put a new actor in that party and have them make that kind of impact in that short period of time, that would be a tall order. So you can see why they would go for a familiar one.
If so, they were going to make this film. If they cast John in it, would it be part of canon, or was it a completely separate thing? Like
apparently not. Apparently not. They had their own idea that it was going to be. That it was still going to be separate, but I think they wanted to reach out to the audience that had sort of grown up with Doctor Who in the 2 decades since they'd last made a film. They were aware that it had moved on. We talk about Doctor Who as this big pop culture thing on this show a lot, don't we, Queen Charlotte? That it had rolled on and become something else, and it had become bigger than the Daleks in many respects. And I think that they were aware that it was now this cult show with an international following, and maybe the idea that they could tap into some of that.
Oh, absolutely.
It almost reminds me a bit of the movie we did get that they wanted to have Sylvester. They wanted to have that touching point to what was known.
Canon, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it to me it rings of the same sort of want of having that actor from the television, from a recognisable face, to be your starting point, and then once you're comfortable, hit us with a new, younger version that we can then go, okay, I've settled a bit now. And I agree. I think with Pertwee as well, he's almost got that bit of, in a nice way, sort of Sergeant Major, a little bit of like authority. And I can see maybe that's also why they were thinking of Pertwee, if they were going to pick from the first sort of.
I would have went and seen it. I would have seen it if it was made, definitely.
And he never really left Doctor Who behind him, had he, JT? He was still doing conventions. He was still doing the video. The VHS Rangers started. He was very much present.
Living the character. There were times when he would turn up to conventions as the Doctor, not as John, but as the Doctor. On that, with the HMV thing, I remember going on to see him on that tour, and I saw him on one of the signings and got my VHS signed by him and all this. But he was very much John that day in the Doctor's outfit. But he had the variations of the Doctor's outfit in his chest, the infamous chest at home, and he would always turn up as the Doctor. And that was his belief. Troughton was very similar towards his time and conventions. They would turn up in costume. So it was interesting. But Ian, with your point there about canon, this wouldn't have been canon. If you actually look at the piece that's in the Telegraph, it was very much its own, and possibly even a starting point for a series of films. But that again wouldn't have got through the production team at all. Not with John and Nathan Turner in there. He would have wanted, no, this will have to be directly in at some point with the TV show. It will have to correlate, so that wouldn't have got through at all.
We do have a letter as well we've got some correspondence here that went to and from the BBC about it too. So yeah, the way I look at it is that to start with an actor that people recognise, and somebody like you say, he'd got the costumes hanging up at home, and his take on the character was so much part of him, even though he hadn't played it on screen for a few years regularly. They were his own character traits, so he could just bring them out and fully embody that part. He could have probably, like you say, have stepped back into this character with a few days' notice and played on all the strings. I think it's the same. Most of the actors who've played the Doctor have been able to demonstrate that, been able to sort of pick it back up really, really easily and show all that great range that we're used to from all the actors, most of the actors that have ever played the Doctor there. But
if you look at The Ultimate Adventure in '89, John just went bang. So did Colin, who succeeded him. But John just was like, up and off. Oh, yeah, back in character, because he knows the character, and any good actor knows their character. So even if you're away from a character 15, 20 years, because you remember what you did and you remember the character, you can just go back. And that's the beauty of the Doctor, isn't it? Because he's infinite.
Has there ever been a TV show that they made a feature film of while it was still on screen, but it was completely separate from the
that's a different continuity.
Yeah.
I can't think of one, but I bet there is. Well, you could count the Dad's Army movie because they kind of retold the first 3 or 4 episodes in that film.
Are you being served?
But that that wasn't an origin thing, though, was it? It was like Another Day in the Shop, where it was the Dad's Army film told the story of them coming together again.
Oh, right. I thought you meant consecutively at the same time it was on telly, because they took 3 of the scripts, didn't they, and mashed them together for the Are They Being Served film. It was absolutely awful. Oh yeah, if you watch the episodes, and yes, I do like Are You Being Served the first 8 years, maybe not. Because they actually in the TV series they started repeating scripts. That's why the actors were getting fatigued. In fact, we did this 10 years ago, but they did that in the movie. They mashed 3 or 4 scripts together, and the On the Buses one, according to a friend of mine, is exactly the same. They mashed TV scripts together, and that was on the air at the same time as well. So if Dad's Army managed to do something very different for its time, it was ahead of its time.
A quick happy birthday to Z3PO who's watching in the chat on YouTube. He says, I share a birthday today with my first Doctor. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Gravitas says Peter Harrington. Yeah, we talk about Gravitas all the time here. But as if it is very important. And as if John Pertwee wasn't enough, the idea, Ian, and you're going to love this, was that this movie would have pitted 2 versions of the Doctor. So there was going to be 2 incarnations of the Doctor. There was going to be the older character and a younger Doctor and this is entirely the invention of Matthew Sweet writing in the Telegraph. He speculates that it could have been played by Hugh Grant, who at that time, around 1986, Hugh Grant, he was in things. He would turn up in things on TV and in movies, obviously very charismatic.
Way over there.
So it's fun to speculate. We talked about Hugh Grant a couple of months ago on this show when there was that huge rumor going on that he was going to be the star of series 14 and everything. But yeah, it's not a bad punt, I think, Hugh Grant for this part. But that is entirely the speculation of Matthew Sweet writing this article. There were, though, back in the 80s, there were lots of candidates for this kind of character, the sort of the floppy-haired British actor. I'm thinking particularly we've got Richard E. Grant and Paul McGann, who were both in With Nail and I, huge film in 1986. Peter Capaldi, he'd been in Local Hero, lots of other things. He was very much in the background then, but still there. Daniel Day-Lewis from My Beautiful Laundrette, that was around that time too. Nigel Havers off the back of Chariots of Fire.
Oh wow, what a guy.
The guys from the 2 guys that were in Brideshead Revisited were always around, and also the guy that went on to play Alan Rickman. Alan Rickman was always meant to be the late 80s all the time.
All sort of floppy-head actors. So, Shah, when you look at these actors from this time, do you recognise them all? And what do you think? Do you think they could have made good Doctors in this?
Do you know what? I wouldn't have recognised them straight off the bat unless thank God you told me who they were. Of course, I know the guy that's on the left. But yeah, I think all of them would have been fantastic. But I would have really liked to have seen Nigel Havers if I can choose from that list. Yeah, I think he would have been fantastic. He's got that, you know, he's very suave. He's got that gravitas, so we like to say. You know, he's got that charisma. He would have been excellent, I think.
For a time, obviously, to look at, we see Paul McGann now and Peter Capaldi, two actors who ultimately did take the role. Capaldi had the opportunity, didn't he, to audition back in '96. So, and obviously everybody knows he was a huge fan of the show. So maybe it was always in the stars, for him. But he does definitely fit that mold, doesn't he? That kind of actor. And again, you can see why Amicus were looking at bringing in that younger Time Lord to, I suppose, make the film that bit more saleable, Charlotte.
Yeah, it's sort of getting that audience of the adventurer, of sort of the dashing hero, because I think that's very two different appeals to have the sort of grandfather, the sort of that sort of wise head, and then you get the young, the sort of exuberant, the running around, and I think all those actors. For me, it would I think I've always thought Richard E. Grant, when he was younger, would have been a lovely, to get in anything, whether it was TV or movie, because I just think he's got this sort of, he's got just the right amount of alienness about him. That I think, he would be, when I look at him in anything, he just feels like he's not off this world almost a bit to me.
See, I wasn't impressed when he played the Doctor. And I know it was a different sort of format, but I just thought, no, you know, it doesn't click for me.
Oh, you mean in the sketch?
No,
in the radio play.
In The Scream of the Shulker, which was the animation, which was intended to go ahead as a brand new series, canon efficient of Doctor Who, The Scream of the Shulker. And of course, Russell T Davies axed it immediately because it was produced at the time I saw it at Panopticon that year. So that would have been the 30th anniversary. No, it would have been the 30th, I think. So 2003. And then it was an animation. You can still get it if you look at YouTube now.
Correct me sorry, go on, carry on.
Russell put the dampener on and said, no, we can't do any more of that because I'm relaunching the Ninth Doctor and I'm doing the series which will be on in 2005. And I don't think he was that impressed anyway, but that's the rumour I hear.
I think David Tennant was in that one as well. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, he was.
He was. He was. They had a voice there. They did a lot of voice work there. Yeah, and also, so was Derek Jacobi. He played the Master.
Yes. Oh.
I was never impressed with
the only audio I've ever listened to.
I was never impressed with his characterization, Charlotte. I was never impressed with what.
I've just always, whatever I've seen him in other roles.
Cheers, Jack.
I think he'd be interesting. So we'll just
have a look at Scream of the Shulker, though. Look it up, and then
it does make me wonder about the script, though, where the Hugh Grant character and the older Doctor, how they come together and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, if I ever get a chance to read it, I'll bloody read the damn thing because it sounds good, sounds interesting.
Well, we've got a little.
I don't know. I haven't read it.
It needs a lot of work.
We've got a little of it here. So this is from the article that went in the Telegraph with artwork there by Andrew Mark Thompson, which I think is just stunning, featuring John Pertwee and Hugh Grant there with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee making cameo roles, which that would have been fun. And thanks to Matthew Sweet, we have a little bit of the script here. This is a description of the general story. It says a battered police box makes landfall on a lonely beach. The Doctor strides out. He's a young and unfamiliar incarnation never seen on TV. He runs into a screaming woman and finds her body reduced to bloody pieces. Another shock soon comes. A second TARDIS materializes and out steps a dandyish figure with a shock of white hair. You recognize the actor instantly. It's John Pertwee. The two Doctors stare at one another and say, "Who are you?" So that would have been the starting point. And the plot, the plot, Ian, the plot, you're not going to believe this, was going to involve both Doctors teaming up to fight an army of giant crab-like creatures there. So obviously, this is particularly, if you're talking about crabs in Doctor Who, you particularly think of the Macra, don't you? From the Macra Terror, and then from the series 3-story gridlock. So that's where new series fans will know
what a
them
waste
from.
of the macro in that story.
Yeah, did.
Such a waste. Really bothered me.
I mean, it was the kind of thing that was, monsters was always linked with Doctor Who, wasn't it? So I can see the reason why they went down this route for this kind of story. So yeah.
Well, apparently, Ian, what was kicking off was that these massive crabs were coming out of the sea and taking to the land, and they were going to be seen to be eating cows out of fields and things. So we got.
Sounds great.
I know. There was a working title for this. I've got this somewhere. Where is it? It was originally called, the working title was The Lossiemouth Affair. Now, Lossiemouth is a town in Scotland, in the Moray district of Scotland. And apparently there's lots of farming and things. Does that ring a bell, JT? Is that right?
No, but it's okay.
It's an important fishing and farming town, and there has been a settlement in there for over 1,000 years, and so they figured it would make for a sort of a historic setting. It seems to me that if you go to a place where hardly any bugger lives, who are the crabs going to eat? Who are they going to attack? Say if they're attacking farmyard animals, Sarah. Well, depends how much you can relate to the farmyard animals.
I would really like, I'm just imagining this giant crab with its pincers going after the Daisy the cow.
It's yours on land.
It'd probably look awful because in those days they couldn't do CGI, so it'd probably be this big horrible model thing, wouldn't it? Operated by people inside and stuff, so it'd probably look a bit rubbish.
Later parts of the script, though, Ian, you say it would look rubbish, but close your eyes and imagine this, because later parts of the script it says that the Doctor, the elder Doctor, would ride an army truck blasting these creatures with ultrasonic beams, whilst the younger Doctor would enter their nest and dispatch the king crab with a harpoon.
The king crab.
Wow. Wow, sounds terrible, but
the more I'm thinking, it's almost like it's going to be that terrible that it's good.
Yeah, probably.
I was gonna say, remember how like last week we're like, the Doctor doesn't like guns, the Doctor doesn't like violence.
Yes, but this was before the crab invasion.
That's right, yeah.
He changed his stance just for the crabs.
Crabs, yeah.
You're laughing, but look how brilliant Starship Troopers was. It's bigger than it could work.
It was, but that's when they had CGI.
And you're laughing. You're making it look ridiculous, everybody. You're making it look ridiculous. But these ideas were the brainchild of another writer entirely, because it turns out that this script, that we're talking about appearing as regards Doctor Who in the mid-80s, this script had been kicking around for a while, and it was the work of a Doctor Who fan and writer. Now I've got his name here. He's a novelist and a writer, called Guy N. Smith. He was a huge Doctor Who fan, but he got his own TARDIS and everything, and had always wanted to write for the show, and would talk too. He was a friend of Milton Subotsky, and so would talk about this quite regularly. But he was known as a writer of pulp fiction. He published masses of these sort of monster stories. I mean, look at the titles here. We've got Caracal, The Wood. Ooh, that sounds like something else. Death Bell, Wolf Curse, Bats Out of Hell, Entombed. Shaw, that sounds like a good one. How about Warhead, Ian? Would you make Warhead into a film?
It sounds like a porno, but anyway.
They all sound like porn. They all do.
Warhead was the original title for a certain Dalek story in 1984.
Oh,
Walking Dead. The Walking Dead.
They all sound a bit ropey. There's one here called the Sucking Pit. I think we better move on. I think I may have seen that one. Okay, so but yeah, it turns out that his biggest hit was his biggest seller was The Night of the Crabs, which was billed here as in the tradition of James Herbert's The Rats. Well, that was a massive book as well, wasn't it? So yeah, it turns out that Guy had got a bit of a thing about crabs, and they wanted originally Amicus, Subotsky, Fleming had a mind that they optioned the movie rights to Night of the Crabs, and this screenplay started out as an adaptation of this book, and they went back to the script in the 80s. Yeah, they optioned the script to the book in 1977. It had been published in 76, but they went back to the script several years later, aware that they weren't going to be able to sell this thing, probably in the wake of Spielberg and John Carpenter and things like that, JT. So they went back to it. So, okay, what we're going to do with this? I know. We've also got the rights to Doctor Who, or we've got an option on Doctor Who. Let's put a couple of Time Lords in there. Does that make sense to you?
I hope that's the tagline for the film: a seafood cocktail. For the
Yeah.
Well, they were all trying to come up with the same thing as it's safe to go back into the water, or before you thought,
Yes.
the taglines at that point were very, very big. But no, it makes perfect sense that they would have gone to this thing and said, "Oh, we've got these rights here. Let's blend the two together." And in a sense, it's actually quite a Doctor Who-y type story. You know, the TARDIS arrives in a remote British village, and then there's something going on which is not quite right, and the Doctor gets involved with it. I think with a couple more rewrites, it could have had potential, but it would never have got through the BBC.
You think that it was not necessarily on grounds of the story itself, but all the other trappings that we know about, the fact that they wanted to sort of bend the format? Yeah,
it just wouldn't have met the production office led by John Nathan Turner's demands and criteria, and they would have to have the final say in those days, as I think it is now, because you mentioned Stephen Moffat earlier, when David Yates was going on about this, and Stephen Moffat would have had to sign it off. Chris Chibnall would have had to sign something off, like they always have to. Now it's back to Russell and Julie and Jane and having to sign off. So I think it's still there, where the production office has to buy into it and actually sign it off. And I think now, because you've got the likes of BBC Studios involved, Bad Wolf Production Studio, the Sony somewhere along the lines, I think it would be them that opted anything. I think they would be the driving force these days. But no, I can't. I think it's just fun, though, because, as I said, it just adds to the list. And if you can find it, if you don't have it already, and if you can find it, Spacebookers on eBay, that's the book you need, because that's the book that will tell you all the stories of the late 80s and certainly up to the 90s.
It's a fantastic book. I've read that three or four times.
This will tell you how bad things could have been, because some of these scripts are absolutely dire. They are awful. I mean,
but we may think this sounds.
Who cares?
We may think this sounds ridiculous, but people in the chat I think they're stimulated. Not sure if it's in the way that they should be, Sarah, but people are definitely stimulated by this. James A. Fitzpatrick says, tastes like crab. Looks like Doctor Who. Daniel Leach is the more scathing, says it sounds crap. Well, yeah.
Sounds crap.
Daniel. Hey, you know what I mean? The golfers would have a shot, wouldn't they?
Tony L says that this sounds really scary. Whereas Theta Sigma says the Rats was a brilliant book. It was. It sold a huge amount.
Yeah. Did they ever turn that into a film, Ian? The Rats? I don't remember seeing a film with the Rats.
They did too.
Right.
Yeah,
what was it
James?
like?
Actually, it did scare me when I was a kid. The Rats.
Yeah.
Simon
Did it have
Ashley
our salons? Was that his next job?
Simon Ashley says, I like eating crabs. I know, I'm sorry. And people jumping on the book too. But we do have a letter here. This is a letter from the BBC archives. We've got a snapshot of this. Was saved by this was from Milton Subotsky's assistant, and it exists in the BBC archives. And it says that Milton has now expressed, as Milton Subotsky, a desire because of a special unusual script and screenplay he has developed, already financed, to request the making of a third Doctor Who film, and mentioning that working title there. We know there have been talks and there's interest from America, and they are prepared to option this for the sum of $20,000 to make and produce that new Doctor Who film, but there's nothing concrete. It says that Milton has said he's prepared to put up cash, the option of £1,000, which in comparison to the Americans might seem low, but this will guarantee that actually make the picture, because that's what happens, isn't it? Their money's changed hands with the guarantee that a film will be made. And they do mention the fact...
When you take the rights, Dan, when you option the rights, you have so many years to get the film made. Otherwise, it reverts back to, in this case, the BBC, and you don't get a second chance.
Do you know what I'm really amazed about that letter is that they've typed that on a typewriter.
I know.
You know how long it takes to
I miss those days.
Yeah. Look at it up in cash. They stuck the little.
Yeah, I thought that was really. Oh yeah.
They do mention the casting of the Doctor here at the bottom. So, of course, this was in the mid-80s. And it says that we do not at this stage wish to be tied to specific actors from the TV show because times change. And the way that they're reasoning it is that Peter Davidson only lasted a few months, which, he was, from his screen debut until he quit the role, 18 months or so. Even though he was on screen for much, much longer. I think they're reasoning that if they enter into production on a movie, by the time that film reaches the big screen, the actor could have already left the role, and so there was no point in trying to keep pace with the TV show. That was their logic. And I think it would be different now, as we've said about the Moffat and David Yates thing, but it wasn't an unreasonable conclusion to come to back in 1985, 86, I think, JT.
Yeah, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because the insistence that John Nathan Turner, to everybody that was around, said, no, it has to be the actor that's playing the Doctor on television, and that there was certain criteria, like this must be blah, 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 so we can tie it into the TV show. Because John always saw things, as we know, on a bigger picture. He would have been thinking that the TV show is going to benefit from this film. And it was actually tried out with Star Trek years later when the Next Generation team moved on to the films, But Moffat said a few years back, no, it would have to be the actor that's on telly.
I agree.
I do as well. It keeps it all together. You should work together. I think it's more likely to happen in the future with if the show's successful again and comes up with this new production unit of these three partners. Who knows? Who knows?
They mentioned the closing sentence just says that I suggest we negotiate between us for Doctor Who with the BBC regardless and use the best actor available at the time. I suppose that was the conclusion that they come to, that they would find the right man once all the other ducks were in a row. I suppose that's a simple way of getting anything done, isn't it, Shah? It applies whatever we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I completely agree with what they're trying to say as well. I agree with both, actually. It should be the Doctor at the time, but it makes it... Oh, I've just seen your cat there, Sarah. Sorry. It distracted me. It looks just like mine. And it's... Yeah, I agree with that, but I do sort of see where they're coming from with the whole, you can't use an actor if they're just about to leave. But I think you still can. They explain way more than than that before, so they've been able to do that before. They'll do it again.
Yeah.
It's been proved since, though, however.
You know what I meant.
It's been proved since, though, however, that taking your regular television actors to a film works, and it works beautifully, and the fans are happy, the public recognise it, they come along. But again, as I say, it's just brilliant to have yet another mysterious script appearing, and I can't wait for the next few to now appear, so that we can add them to the list and get a new version of that book published.
I think it's bound to happen. These things do have a habit in the Doctor Who world of kind of snowballing. They certainly inspire us to speculate. We've been talking about this and picking our way through the various ridiculous ideas and speculating as well. There are plenty of actors, I think, who, despite the fact that Doctor Who, some would say, wasn't in the best shape in the mid-80s, it still had that kind of pop culture currency. I think actors would have, particularly on the big screen, would have jumped at the chance to be in it. Rachel Talalay, the past director of several Doctor Who's and future director of at least part of the 60th anniversary, she loved this, and so she put her hat into the ring right away on Twitter and said that if it ever gets turned into a film, she'd
maybe that's a little bit tongue-in-cheek there as well, but it's interesting, though, Dan, what you're saying there, because although the show might have been perceived as being unhealthy, and that's arguable in the 80s because of what was going on. As soon as it came off the air in 1989, everybody was there. As we know, the Delta Rays, Green Light, Coast to Coast, everybody else, they were lining up and sending in scripts for movies. They all wanted to take it from the small screen to the silver screen. Loads of things. I remember being told once upon a time, every other day, another production company would knock on the door saying, we've got a script for a Doctor Who movie, to the point where BBC Enterprises were going, oh, not again.
I think it's just the case we talk about a lot, that the BBC just didn't have the vision, Ian.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, it's a good idea if they wanted to make a Doctor Who film now. It's a really, and it will make a lot of money.
It wouldn't right now.
Well, actually, obviously not now, because there's nothing here. But once this new thing gets going, and if it's a huge success, You could do it because, as you said, they did it with Generations. They the first Generation movie featured Captain Kirk. Do you know what I mean? So that you could get an old Doctor in with the new Doctor, so it could work. It's just whether they want to do it, I guess.
Strange you mentioned that, Ian, because when I was looking at the outlay for this one, Doctor Who and the Crabs, I was reminded of that thing where Picard and Kirk, whoever they are, met in that awful film, and they met, and I thought, oh my God, they were ahead of their time, because here's the third Doctor meeting with Doctor whoever from the future. Although it's not actually TV continuity, it's their own continuity, but based on the TV. That's where it gets confusing. Is it Peter Cushing or not? I don't know. Probably not. But there you go. It was fun. It was taking it off in another way. And as I say, I'm looking forward to who's next. Hurry up! We've got a whole year of waiting here. Come on.
It's still such a seductive idea. I mean, Daniel Leach says a Doctor Who cinema release is long overdue. Get it done, please.
Daniel, this Sunday, you can go and see the Peter Cushing Dalek films. This Sunday, selected theatres across the UK. There you go.
The closest we got to it was Doctor Who the movie with Paul McGann, wasn't it? That was the closest we got to it.
Movie? I count that as a TV long episode.
I understand. That's what they called it, didn't they? Doctor Who.
Part of it is in this, because part of what that they did for some of them was taken into the Phil Segal movie, some of the ideas. But thank God they got rid of things like the Indiana Jones type Doctor looking for his lost father, who turned out to be Razalon.
That's the Americans.
The Doctor's mother and having her called Hilda or whatever.
No.
Simon Ashley suggests that you would make a good Doctor there, JT, for the old Doctor Who film. What do you think?
Thank you, Simon. If the money was right, I am available. I would actually like to do more of the production side of it. I would really love to get behind the production side of something like that and tell everybody they're wrong.
The Crimpling Doubloon reminds us that, there's been a Mr. Ben film in development for 20 years.
Development hell,
Wasn't Hugh Grant associated with that as well?
He's been associated with everything.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was. Wasn't he supposed to be Mr. Ben at one point as well?
He was in Paddington, and he was absolutely freaking awesome in
Paddington.
Paddington. Brilliant. Yeah,
wasn't it? It shows how versatile he is, Ian, because he had comic timing like that. Beautiful performance.
Yeah, it was a really good film. I recommend it. There you go.
Hugh Grant, who seems to be turning up in absolutely everything at the moment. I can tell you though that he won't be turning up in the Type 40 Doctor Who ad break this week, though. That's coming up right now, Ian. So it's that time.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
You can go on.
You go for a pee now.
Percy at the porcelain.
How excited you get every week.
Refill your glasses or your mugs with whatever, because it's coming. That favourite segment of the show. We love it. You love it. Come and check out these Doctor Who faces from times past selling various wares the way they are wont to do. We'll be back with more Type 40 Live in a couple of minutes. Enjoy the ad break.
Huge obstruction on the bridge, boss. Could be here for hours.
What do you mean there's an...
What's up, Doc? Good morning. I see you've got a new mobile telephone. It's Telecom. Oh, that's good. Do you mind? My telephone box is out of order. Hello, Telecom.
Vandals, I suppose.
This is the Doctor. Yes, we've got a bit of a problem. Yeah, call me when you're on your way, will you?
Doctor Who?
That's right. Maybe it's off the hook.
No, I've got it!
These are some of the world's most advanced televisions. This set has a quick start picture. Here, full remote control. A 26-inch model with a high brightness screen. And finally, one that even has its own audio output. But all these sets have two things in common. Tomorrow's technology and the Philips name.
Philips, simply years ahead.
Yeah, Rover 600 automatic. Nightfire red. 14 months old. Leather seats, beige to match the interior. Yes, we've got one. Has it got the walnut dash?
At Rover dealers, we believe you should have the same choice of used cars as new ones, which is why every dealer has access to thousands of quality-checked used Rovers.
Yeah, what's this about you writing off CJ's Rover?
Including just the one you need.
Buy a Hornby train set for the boy. It's amazing the fun you can have building it up.
He really loves it.
Hornby Railways, the present with a future.
I did hear, Gareth, that Nescafe is an original.
And absolutely exclusive.
It certainly is. Absolutely exclusive. Yes. A special blend and roast that gives you the richer, smoother Nescafe taste. Absolutely exclusive, Peter. In this one jar.
And nowhere else.
Just in this jar, eh? What a shame they only made the one.
Absolutely exclusive. Because Nescafe don't make coffee for anyone else.
Certainly don't Barrowman House, I tell you.
I tell you what, Cribbins has just convinced me to go out and buy a train. I love that.
I'll tell you what, that was a good chat, wasn't it, about the films? I hope you enjoyed that, Facebook. That was a good chat, wasn't it?
That was what you call it. I always wanted one of those trains when I was a kid. Definitely.
I just want to say, before we move on, get well soon to Bernard Cribbins. He's in hospital at the moment. I just heard this afternoon. He's been filming the 60th anniversary stuff, hasn't he, over the last 2 or 3 weeks. But yeah, he's not in the studio with some of the cast of Doctor Who. I think they've gone into the studio now, but Bernard's not there. He's in hospital, so we just hope that he gets well soon. He's well into his 90s. Real.
I heard that
legend.
James Caan died today.
Yes, he
Apparently
died
so.
As well, hasn't he?
That just broke before we came on air. Yeah. So the talk about the Doctor Who film that we never got. I mean, who knows? That script may fall into somebody's hands at some point. If you like the sound of that, or if you don't, or if you just remember the book that JT was talking about and all those other scripts, let us know in the comments section here on YouTube. Reach out to us through our social media, Instagram or Twitter at Type 40 Doctor Who, or join the Type 40 Facebook group for more of that. But that's enough about that for the time being. We're going to leave all that behind. These flights of fancy about things that we never got to hear about, things that we may get. We may get to feel them and add them to our collections, JT, in due course. The whats, the hows, and the whens are all going to come from the Lord of the pre-orders here as we head over to Merchandise Paradise with JT.
Yes, indeed. And welcome to Merchandise Paradise. Yes, it's that time where we look at the latest collectibles and goodies and baddies, which you may or may not be interested in. And all prices and information are correct as today, Thursday, the 7th of July, 2022. Just have to put that out there now.
Awesome.
Right, so listen, Facebookers and distinguished panel, I was out there the other day in a record shop.
Oh.
And I'm instant, and something grabbed my eye. And I thought, that's passed me by. What is that? And so I thought I'd let you know in case it's passed by you, because we had National Record Store Day very recently, and there's another vinyl out there, and it's this. This is Doctor Who Dead Air by James Goss.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yes, well, yes, you might say wow. You may say wow. Look at that. Now, I know it looks a bit like the Time of Victorious vinyl that came out last year, I think it was, or the year before.
Same house dress, isn't it?
It's the same sort of thing, yeah, and it is produced by the BBC. But what got me was I was looking at this thinking, hang on a minute, this really, really, really rings a bell. And the reason it rings a bell is because it's a re-release. Yes, it comes out on 2 what they called Soundwaves green vinyl, but just to let you know, if you have that, can you see that?
Okay, let's get...
Oh, okay.
There it is.
So I've got
that is one CD, okay, and it is written by James Goss and it's read by David Tennant as the 10th Doctor himself. But that there is the same thing on 2 discs.
Okay.
All right. Wow. But if you are collecting the vinyls, and a lot of people are, this isn't a Demon one, this is a BBC one based on this. And a lot of these audio companies are actually doing this now. They're making them available on CD, vinyl, and download, which I think is quite nice because it means that whatever format you want, you can buy it. But this is a story, and I'll read you a bit here. At the bottom of the sea, in the wreck of a floating radio station, a lost recording has been discovered. After careful restoration, it is played for the first time to reveal something incredible. It is the voice of the Doctor, broadcasting from Radio Bravo in 1966. That's all I'm saying. So you've either got that. This is still available, this CD as well, actually, as is that lovely vinyl. The vinyl itself is available now, obviously, because I saw it the other day. It is $31.34.
Peter Harrington's asking, is that an image on the actual vinyl? I think it is, isn't it?
Yes, that's the actual cover. Oh no, on the vinyl. That's what they call the sound waves. It's called the sound waves green vinyl. It's supposed to be a wavy sort of sound. It ties in with the story. So it's actually I quite like these vinyls because they are very artistic, and because it's a gatefold as well. There are quotes and a continuation of the cover on each of the gatefold. Each of the
That's great.
Solid writer as well, James Goss.
Yeah, lovely design on that. So I just
Looks
thought
cool.
better let you know about that just in case. Yes, you can actually, as I say, get it now for $31.34. But please do shop local. Have a look at your record shops if it's in there, if you're interested, and if it's not, see if they can order it for you before you go elsewhere. It's also, I think, available from order from the Who shop.
There you go.
That's really cool. I love that one.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Very pretty, isn't it?
Who knows, JT? You might have made me go into vinyls.
There's a lot of them. So save up.
Yeah, well.
There's also a lot more coming. We'll deal with that in the future. We're going to stay with audio right now, and we're going to go to this. This is the Code of Flesh. And this is going to be available very soon as well to pre-order. The Code of Flesh. Hang on, where's my notes? This is coming out very soon, the 6th of October, 2022. It's available to pre-order now for £11 for CD. I think it's going to be the same price for download, but that hasn't been announced yet. And this is another in those original stories.
I wondered about this one, because some of them are books, aren't they? But these ones aren't. This is Andrew Lane, a good writer as well, isn't he?
He is, yeah. So this is basically, instead of publishing it a book, they're putting it straight onto CD. So it's an audio book, but a brand new story. In 1890s Cardiff, reporter James McFarlane is intrigued by rumours of anesthesia frolics at which gatherings the latest frontier in pain relief is demonstrated to influential guests. After speaking to someone who attended several such frolics and left with a hand and 2 fingers missing, James realises that the events have a dark side. So there you go. And it's starring the 8th Doctor. And I thought you might like the cover because we've got some Paul McGann fans watching and on the panel tonight.
Yeah,
really nicely done.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice image. I like that kind of dark, kind of gothic horror. Yeah, that's definitely.
It fits with McGann.
Yeah.
I was going to say a lot of his audios have that vibe as well. They really like Big Finish. They really do like to put his Doctor in that situation. So it sounds like it fits.
Yeah, I love the ones where he's with Mary Shelley.
Yeah, well, if it fits in with the BBC novels, they got the 8th Doctor moved on a bit, and it was all very, very interesting there. But this one's read by Dan Starkey as well.
I used to buy all of these releases, JT, and I've got to admit I did lose track a little over the last 2 or 3 years, and I want to pick them up again because I don't like having gaps in my collection. I think this was generally a pretty strong range.
Absolutely, is and you can get them now on all sorts of things as well. So go and have a listen to them; they're quite good. Yes, so that's available now. Good. So. Moving on, and we're going to go slightly into the future with this. This is the start of the Danilo ranges coming out for 2023. So this is the diary for 2023. This is currently available now at for pre-order. It's available from the Who shop. It's Waterstones. The Calendar Club will be taking these items. Forbidden Planet will be taking these items. Some WH Smiths will be taking it. HMV will be taking them, and of course Amazon will be taking them. The diary is priced at $5.99. That's the recommended retail price, but you may see slight alterations in the prices. These again are a continuation. There's 2 that I've got from the past. So that's what they mean by pocket diary.
Oh yeah.
Okay, like that.
I've got some of those.
Yeah, well, that's what they are, those sort of things. So this is the 2023 version. I stopped buying these now because they're always now the police box. You can also see that the inside of it, the illustrations there, yet again, they're nice illustrations.
It's Mike Collins again, aren't they? These illustrations have been around for a while too.
They have been because they're based on these. If you've seen these sort of things, hurry up, Dan. they're based on that, the comic.
I love it.
Oh God, I've got to put that down. So they are from that range of things. What?
It's just, I didn't realise how huge it was until you put it down. Wow.
Yes, it's massive. Now, as I say, this is the start of the Danilo range. They have not yet released the covers of the other 2 calendars because they are, of course, as we know, all slightly controversial. We have discussed the Danilo range on this show before. Go back and have a look. But I can tell you that with this coming out, the diary is available from the 15th of September. The next thing that has been produced now for $10.99 or $9.14 and is available for pre-order now. It's the quotable Doctor Who Everyday Calendar 2023. Now, this is the block calendar, and there we have it again. There's the same illustrations we've got on the annual that we had last year, the year before. They're all there again. This time it is.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, it's fine. You carry on. This one is the block calendar. It is quotable. It's exactly very, very similar to what we had last year and the year before. And on each page there is a quote from a particular character in the series, not just the various doctors. There you go. Thanks, Dan. So as you can see, we've got various quotes there. It's exactly the same as you would have got before. It's up to you, of course, whether you're going to get one of those. It's $10.99. Again, they're going to be available from the stockists I mentioned before, including the Who Shop, HMV, Amazon, Forbidden Planet, some WH Smith, and the big one, of course, the Calendar Club, which is open across the United Kingdom with pop-up shops all across the United
That's right. They spring up in shopping precincts and everything, don't they? The Calendar Club.
Absolutely, and that's where you'll get all of this range. Also coming up, they haven't released the covers for these yet, but also coming up on September the 17th is what they're calling the Classic Doctor Who 2023 edition and the 2023 13th Doctor calendar. Now, don't be fooled by that, because we know from last year and the year before that at the BBC's insistence, the Jodie Whittaker era is included now in the classics, which is why I stopped buying it. I still don't agree with that decision, but it's nothing to do with me. So the Jodie Whittaker has been shooting, that era has been shooting into the classic now. So it doesn't matter. So there you go. Just to let you know that they are going to be available from the stockists I've mentioned before. Probably.
Could that account for this as well? Because this has popped up.
This has popped up. Yeah, this is the Doctor Who, the Doctor's Jigsaw. It is $11.99 as a recommended retail price. This one is the 1,000 pieces. This is by Winning Moves as a license. This is available allegedly from anywhere you can get jigsaws. I haven't seen it yet, and I've been around a few places that sell jigsaws, including garden centres, Facebookers, and I can't see this, but it is available out now. And I believe that there's also a 500 piece for this for the younger ones of the same pictures. The same pictures. So if you haven't got a dartboard, there's something for you.
It's getting so old, isn't it?
It is. Do you know what? I was just thinking when you showed that calendar, right? My friend, bless her, she did it because she just knows I love Doctor Who, but she got me this.
Yeah.
But I would prefer that over that. Purely
Which one's that?
Purely because
Yes, that's 2022. Yeah. And that was what Geek Rambles is said. What she said, not that. That was the 13th Doctor calendar for this year, which was released last year. The classic one had all the pictures that we are now used to.
Yeah.
You know.
All I'm saying is that when it comes to things like there's so many images, I mean, whether you like or not, there's so many images, even in just that calendar, that could be reused, but they still seem to go for the same old stuff, and I just don't know why.
Well, they've run out of pictures now because nobody's been taking any, so we'll have to see. As soon as we get the covers from Danilo for the 2 remaining calendars we haven't covered, we'll get them onto Merchandise Paradise for you. But as I said, this show presents you with goodies that you might want, you might not want, you might be interested, you might not be interested, and that's what we do. And that takes us on to this next one, because I know some of you are actually collecting these, and God bless you, you've been collecting them for about 150 years now, haven't you? You've got so much dust on these little cretins. I can't. How the hell? Let's send in your pictures, people. I want to know where you're putting them. Where are you putting these things? Clean pictures only. How the hell are you actually putting these on shelves? Because you must have 6,000 million. This is part 212, not 1,212, but it's getting there. This is part 212, and that's the servo robot, of course. It's available now. The usual price, which I believe is $11.99. I don't know if that's right, because I was also told it was $14.99, but I'm so glad I didn't start with these, because I'd be very frustrated by now. But if you are, and I know a lot of you are, and I hope you're loving them, that's your next one, followed swiftly by the most infamous character in Doctor Who history, Father Christmas. And you've all been waiting for. Part 213 is Father Christmas from the Christmas episode.
This does seem a strange choice, particularly in the middle of the year.
There's that barrel being scraped again to get set. But anyway, if you're collecting them, I suppose you can't stop, because you're going to have him. But what they're going to do next, they'll probably do the little mind things from that next, won't they? Or probably.
He looks more like Richard Attenborough's Father Christmas than Nick Frost.
He does.
Odd.
On top of that, if you are buying these. You've got the latest in the special issues, as you can see there, the monster-sized mega figure. They publicised this, and of course it is the legendary Fourth Doctor. This is available from various places, including the Who Shop, WH Smith, some WH Smiths. You've got Forbidden Planet selling this. The recommended retail price for this 34.3 centimetre figurine is £99.99.
Wow.
Whoa.
I remember we talked about this, Sarah, last year on the show when we covered Comic-Con, and I think this was sort of unveiled then as a new bit of merchandise. It's taken nearly a year for this to come. They've done a good job matching the scarf, I'll say that for them.
All eyes go to the scarf. Never mind the likeness, the scarf's good. It's really good. But please do, Spacebookers, if you are collecting these, do send us in your photographs. Let us know how you're shelving them. And so I'm genuinely curious because there are a lot of them, and there are still obviously a lot more to go at the moment. Yes, Robert. Yes, Robert.
£100 per foot.
And now live on Merchandise Paradise, let's get to a little bit of tat, shall we?
That wasn't tat.
We're going to go to tat. The Build-A-Bear range. Oh, the response. They're not tat, they're so cuddly. Get a life.
I am these.
So this range started a year or two ago, didn't it?
This is my level.
As you
the
can
girls
see,
a minute, they need to calm down.
But the range started a couple of years ago with the 10th Doctor, based on the David Tennant Doctor, of course. We now have to add to that the 4th Doctor, which is £24. The 12th Doctor, which will be £19.
Look how that amazing is that.
Hold on. Do they? Have you ever been there where they built a bear for a kid? They sit the kid down and they start talking to them, don't they? And like, do you want a heart in there and stuff like that? I wonder what they say about these when they're building these dogs.
Yeah, I mean,
Two hearts per bear.
Yeah, do you want 2 hearts?
Yeah. I just think this is totally bizarre, but there you go. In addition to the range, there is also the worst canine I've ever seen in my history. It's a pre-stuffed canine, which is £13.50. Look at that monstrosity.
Oh yeah.
This reminds me of the canine you could knit in the Doctor Who pattern book, the original Doctor Who pattern book from 1985.
It does look like I won't say what the front of his nose looks like, actually. I think we've been there. We've already skirted close to the PG-15. I quite like. He does look out of proportion somewhat. Yeah, I think could have done with a little more TLC.
Did it have the sound in there?
No,
when you build something,
it's just a cuddly canine to go with the 4th Doctor. I do have to stress at this point, though, that the bears themselves are £23. The outfit was £24 for the 4th Doctor and £19 for the 12th Doctor. Okay.
Wow.
You can also get these as sets with the 4th Doctor and K9 together for £66.50, and the 12th Doctor with a stuffed Dalek, and you don't hear that every day, for £62. You can also get them. Get this, kids. You can also get them as a 4th Doctor with a police box shaped TARDIS box set for £57.
That's cool. I've got the box set there.
A 12th Doctor with the TARDIS box set for £56. And the 10th Doctor and TARDIS box set that Starry's got there is still available for £57.50. Okay. So if you want to go along this weekend and stuff a Doctor, that's the place to go. Build-A-Bear.
Yeah. That's going to be my new name.
Daniel Leach says that the canine looks like a melted welly.
I'm glad you said welly.
I was going to say.
Which end is which? Says Matthew Pounder. Not an unreasonable question. Richard Brooks says that canine looks like he's about to throw up some nuts and bolts there. Maybe he is.
Listen, do you know what? If you're not Starry-Eyed Girl, but if you do have these for the kids, again, let us know. How are they going down with the kids? Do the kids like these little teddy bears?
Just for me.
I was going to say
the old ones, not the old ones. I don't want to know about anybody over the age of like 15. If the younger ones are loving these and taking them, cuddling them, and doing all those kiddie things that kids do, all that stuff, then let us know.
There's one. There's a Build-A-Bear down Waterloo, isn't there? Opposite the Eye, because I took my nieces there, and they got things built for them and stuff like that. So
It's
there is one
always
down
the
there.
nieces. Have you noticed?
It's always
that?
the nieces.
Yeah.
I'm actually there Ian next week. So
Oh
no! So if you see Ian walking around a shopping precinct with a hand held in either direction, nothing
I'll
there.
be looking out for results today, I promise you.
We need photo evidence. Send in your photo evidence to Typhoid.
Well, I never saw any Doctor Who ones. I saw Pikachu and all that. They had all that
I want to
stuff,
see
but no
Ian
Doctor Who
holding the heart going, and I wish.
Right, well, anyway, moving on.
You never know. What's all this about then, JT? What are they?
Well, this is more from Tat Corner. But again, I know that some of you like these sort of pin enamel badges that are exclusive at the moment as part of the brand new Diamond collection with Forbidden Planet.
Sorry, JT. Say again.
What? These are pin badges, which are exclusive as part of their brand new Diamond collection range from Forbidden Planet.
Oh.
Okay. So I'm just trying to find my notes on this one. I'll get this through here. What we've got here for you is we've got several new and exclusive pin badges as part of this collection, which include the latest TARDISes from the latest series, which I don't know the names of, and I've lost my notes now. But there you go. This is live. Well done, me. I did have it earlier.
There are some. I remember a range coming out like this last year at some point, but there definitely wasn't this many. So I've noticed there's that tribute TARDIS to Clara there, which you do see sometimes on social media. And I think that's the War Doctor's TARDIS. Don't remember seeing that before.
I've got my notes. Don't panic. Next time for ad-libbing there. But this is the Doctor Who Diamond Collection, a celebration of 60 years. This is released 96 in a range. Strictly limited to 200 units with 5 exclusive to this set. So a special edition set of 13 enamel badges. The first Doctor, black and white variant exclusive to this set. Second Doctor, black and white variant exclusive to this set. Third, fourth Doctors. Fifth, sixth, seventh Doctors, which is a glow-in-the-dark variant exclusive to this set. Eighth Doctor, War Doctor. Ninth and 10th Doctor. 11th and 12th Doctor. 12th Doctor, Clara tribute variant exclusive to this set. 13th Doctor, Fugitive Doctor, exclusive to this set, and Native Gallifreyan TARDIS. There you go.
Right, how there's a Fugitive Doctor one, I have no idea how that would differentiate. I like the idea of a glow-in-the-dark TARDIS, Shah. How about you?
That would, that as soon as you said glow in the dark, my kid-like me thought, that sounds great. But that's the only one that I think if I had to get one, that would be the one that I'd get. But
I think it would be for me too. I mean, I noticed that it's the 40th anniversary of ET too at the moment. And Ian, I know you love ET. When I was a little kid, I used to have glow-in-the-dark stickers of ET across like old books and things like that, and on the edge of my bed. And they were there for years and years and years. So I do love a glow-in-the-dark thing. You used to put them all over your bike as well back in the.
I had the came back for Casper. Do you remember the film Casper in the 90s? I had the glow-in-the-dark ghosts, all the different ones.
I had one on the ceiling, loads of stars. I remember, I used to love glow-in-the-dark stuff. I still do.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Well, I can trump you all, because when the original Star Wars came out in 1977, I got glow-in-the-dark Star Wars transferred, and I put them all over my wardrobe, and my mother went mad. She went, "Why did you do that?" They were fabulous. Staying with pin badges, just for a second, we're going to show you this one. This is exclusive to Forbidden Planet as part of their range as well. From the 2022 alleged Easter special, Legend of the Sea Devils, comes this badge. Apparently, this is a flag that was used in the show. It's strictly limited to 250 units, though. Okay, so there you go, and that is for itself $6.99.
Yeah, we use the word special pretty loosely when we talk about that.
I would be impressed if they sell all them units. Put it that way.
I will be.
I would have thought Forbidden Planet would have learned their lesson, but not, because they've also got this coming out. This T-shirt is part of the Diamond Collection range, allegedly. It's $15.99, and it is called "I Miss You Too."
No. Why?
With Titan merchandise.
Well, there you go, Twitter. There's your top.
It looks like it was put together on an app and then they've just pulled it off Tumblr or something.
It does.
Is Tumblr still a thing?
It is well designed, though. It is well designed. You've got to give it that. Yeah,
it is pretty. I think it's lovely, actually.
Yeah, well designed.
Well, I'm not giving it anything, but you know, it's it won't be popular though because the fan base, of course, you can only get it in men and female. I'm here all week. Thanks very much. That's going to upset a few people. So, anyway, so we're moving on to something else now. From Zabby.com are a brand new range of very, very colourful mugs, and there you go. They are $7.99 each. If you do go to the Zabby.com website right now, you can actually buy 2 and save 15% right now. But they're a little bit arty, different artwork.
I like them.
The Zygon looks, the Zygon and the Cybermen, that looks like the Mike Collins stuff again, but I don't recognise some of the others.
I think it's a little bit. Adapted to, because I think the Ice Warrior one, if you look like that, it looks like the Target novel.
Yeah.
You know what? But I know what you mean. But I looked at these and I thought, oh no, they're based on something. The Cyberman one I thought I'd seen on one of those, but I hadn't. It's slightly different, so it's quite nice. But as I say, they're exclusive to Zavvi.com, and you can order them now. Okay.
I think they're nice. Yeah, I think they're nice.
Great, yeah.
I think they're
nice. I like the Silurian one as well.
There's only one mug you're ever going to need, people, and it's that.
That's that Type 40 one.
Let's get that.
There you go. Type 40 one.
Last week or the week before. I can't remember which one.
Available now for £40.99.
Charlotte, you haven't got one, have you?
I've got one, but I haven't got it here.
I've got one, I just haven't got it with me.
Oh, unbelievable!
Well, as I say, they're available for £40.99 at JT Views on YouTube. Just let me know.
We're working on it. We're working on the options for Type 40 Live merch, and stay tuned, everybody. As stay tuned, as JNT used to say.
Coming on to the last part for today's Merchandise Paradise, which is great because I'm really warm, is this. This is released on the 18th of October. Now, some of you will understand this far better than I, so I'm going to read this out for you. This is available at PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch. All of them retailing at recommended retail price of $24.99. As I said, available from the 18th of October. Apparently, it's some sort of dual computer game. You've got the Edge of Reality and the Lonely Assassins.
They both came out last year, didn't they? Those two games, because they caused a bit of a kerfuffle because of David Tennant's Doctor saving the day, basically, in them.
On both, apparently.
Go on, because I've actually played both of these.
Oh, good.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
and
go on.
Lonely Assassins is great because it was meant to be a mobile app. It shouldn't be out on PS4. I don't agree with that. It should still be a mobile app. The Edge of Reality was massively glitchy, but I think they've fixed it now. So if that's your kind of thing, go for it. But I would personally download them on your mobile if I were you.
Wow. Are you a gamer then, Shah?
I am indeed, yeah. I'm sure I've spoke to you about it. I've obviously not. Yeah, massive
Probably.
gamer.
Wow.
So, but I won't be purchasing that. Although thank you, JT, anyway, for showing me.
Because it is all double Dutch to me, I got to be honest.
Same with me. I mean, you know, I've got Destiny of the Doctors over there, and that was all right, but I got bored after 20 minutes. So, but, you know, this again, this is available from all the usual stockists, including the Who Shop, HMV, Forbidden Planet, and what's that I've written there? Oh, Amazon. There you go. And also, if you've got any local game shops, I'm sure if they haven't got it on the shelves, they can get it in for you. So there you go. There's a roundup of merchandise that is coming out, available to pre-order right now on today's Merchandise Paradise. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you,
Absolutely. Awesome stuff. So yeah, have a look, and if you've been scribbling down which ones you're going to go and stalk on Amazon or wherever else, let us know in the comments section down there which ones you get. And if you do, when they arrive through the post, take a picture of you with your object of desire. Send it into our social media, Instagram and Twitter at Type40 Doctor Who, or over to the Facebook group too. We'd love to see some smiling faces, don't we, Sarah? Happy punters with bits of tat or luxury items that are going to add something to your day-to-day life and give you a bit of pleasure while you're waiting for that final Jodie Whittaker special to drop, whatever that's going to be. Thanks for putting that together, JT. It's a blast to see all this stuff collected. So you can keep an eye on the pre-order, so we don't have to.
Not that I'll be buying any of it, but there you go.
Okay.
That was the best timing.
So yeah, back to the present and back to Russell T Davies, who was this week on the 5th of July. He was on the sofa with Jenny Agutter, no less. My God, for years,
who wouldn't want to be? Come on.
For years, that was my dream come true. The idea of being on a sofa with Jenny Agutter. But there, Russell T Davies was talking. Well, he was teasing, but sort of teasing, but not teasing, trying to say nothing but say something. I gather he was there supposedly to promote something to do with It's a Sin, which obviously that was on a year and a half ago, won some sort of award. But it's only natural, Doctor Who being as it is and Doctor Who fans being as we are, that we speculated about, would he be talking about Doctor Who in some way? And Alex Jones, she did push him on it. Check this out.
Doctor Who, 60th anniversary next year. There's going to be loads of specials, I imagine. Neil Patrick Harris, we know, is playing the villain.
Yes.
Catherine Tate's back, isn't she?
Yes.
David Tennant.
David Tennant's back.
So come on, Russell. What other goss have you got for us?
Has anyone ever come on the One Show and given away a spoiler?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
really?
what we do.
By accident.
Yeah,
It's like,
we make them feel comfortable and they tell us all, Russell.
Blinkety, flatter those eyelashes. And I can't say, honestly, it's like, because what is coming up in October this year is Jodie Whittaker's Farewell. So I feel like I'm upstaging it slightly.
I see,
lovely
yes.
Jodie. And I just saw the finished version of that 2 days ago. It's a 90-minute epic. It's fantastic. So that is gorgeous. With lots of surprises, and I'm going to quiet.
We'll keep trying. We'll keep trying.
Yeah. We'll have another go later.
Yeah,
isn't
so
RTD wonderful though? Isn't he great? He's got just
trying his best.
He is trying.
And nobody is. Nobody's interested.
His face lights up. So that's the first time we've had proper confirmation. I mean, that's not official, don't get me wrong, but nobody at the BBC is particularly talking about Doctor Who apart from Russell T Davies. Chris Chibnall doesn't even seem to feel the need to go to the Comic-Con. So he's confirmed there.
His own episode.
Well, if he didn't have Russell, you're right, Shaw. When you see that man's face, how playful he is. I mean, this is a man who's 60 years of age, and yet he seems like he's loving it. And okay, I think we can confidently say that Russell is as diplomatic as ever, as sensitive as ever, and there he is with that professional integrity. He's going out there and saying what he needs to say and putting, I don't want to use the word spin, because, Russell probably did like it. He probably has. I think he may have even have given them a few pointers creatively. I think there's been that. I think there's been that window.
Influence at this point, Dan and Jade, and anyone actually. Sorry.
Possibly.
Oh, absolutely.
It's possible.
Absolutely. And I think that will come out. I mean, it's interesting that he saw the final edit just a couple of days ago. To me, that says quite a lot because, but I do think you'll see some influence about him guiding it to where he needs it to be for next year.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about that. That's what I really wanted to know. Sorry if I cut anyone off. I was just thinking there must be something there, surely, because you would set it up for your next thing, right?
I'd be very surprised if there isn't after what we know has happened between 2019 and this year.
Okay.
And with the fact that we know that the production team ended a while ago, I'd be very, very surprised if things... As I keep saying on this show, things will come out in the future. They will all come out in the future. I don't want to say anything that's going to discredit our show, because it's all speculation on our point and things that we've heard in the past. And if people can go back and look at things we were doing in 2020, and they can see us reporting stuff that we're hearing very much at the time through 2020 and 2021. And I don't want to discredit anybody else on that, but I would be very, very surprised in future we didn't realize that there was a certain amount of influence in what's coming on this 90-minute epic, allegedly, to tie it in with next year, including the very end of the show.
See, Russell is a great publicist, isn't he, JT? And, Sarah, we've spoken several times on the podcast and on the live streams about Russell's boundless enthusiasm and that integrity and that showmanship that he's got. It's something that J&T absolutely had. But precious few people, I think Moffat had a version of that. It was a quieter nature that Stephen Moffat's got, but he was quite winsome with it. Russell is a very big personality, isn't he? And what strikes me about this is that he's back in the mix of all this, in the middle of all this, I should say, now for a couple of months. in the publicity circus. He was there in Camden while they were filming on location 3 or 4 weeks ago, talking to the press, talking to the public, having selfies taken, all that. So I get the impression he's gradually brought himself back up to speed with this, because when he spoke about this special originally a couple of months ago, he said this, which he described the special as, it's like a 10-year-old's fantasy version of Doctor Who, but with muscle and punch and light and colour. So he was talking about the same special, that 90-minute special. I don't know about you, but I thought that sounded bloody awful.
Yes. Well, we're too old for it, aren't we? I mean, we're not going to watch it because we're going to be too old. We're automatically going to be alienated.
But what I think about this, though, JT, was when he was asked about this, I think it was on the radio or something, and I don't think he prepared an answer. I don't think he expected to be asked about it. I think he's been surprised that the fact that there's nobody there from the previous administration, if you like, that are not just bigging their show up and driving the publicity, but answering for it in any way. He is the public face of all Doctor Who, not just the Doctor Who that he's produced. It's very strange, isn't it?
It's not happened before, but I think there is a reason for it, and we've mentioned it previously before. And if we are right with that, and if our sources were correct with that, then why would they come back and talk about it?
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. I understand in the fact that they know they can try and pretend it's been a great success. They can try and pretend it's beloved, but they know really. You can see it with the little comments that have come out. Even if you know that, it's your final episode. It's your send-off for your Doctor. And I just find it amazing that even just for your own professional sake of this is your product and you're about to leave on the show, we know production has left for a long time. But when it comes to the public, this is their goodbye, in a sense, to this era.
Maybe he was told not to.
Maybe.
No, but
I honestly don't think he cared. I think to Chibnall it was just another job. I don't think it's... Well, with Moffat and RTD, they live and breathe it. It's their baby.
Yeah, but it's just
the
thing that really rang to me watching this one show. It's like, Russell, you shouldn't be doing Chibs' job for him. And that's what it came across to me.
Yeah, but he was trying to get out of talking about next year, and he was repeating himself what he said last year, wasn't he? He was repeating himself, saying you've still got a couple more coming with Jodie Whittaker and what have you. But what I would say there, Charlotte, is just to remind you that Colin Baker didn't go back for his regeneration.
Oh no, I know about Jodie. I'm just talking about.
No, I'm not talking about the Doctor. I'm talking about the scenario without trying to say the word.
Yeah. I know.
But Colin didn't go back for his initial 4 episodes to see him off.
There is definitely that. The way I see it, because obviously people were talking about this on Twitter, and particularly that comment from Russell where he is bigging it up. What was he going to say? Don't bother watching that. It's going to be a load of old toilet and you'll barely understand it. Is he really going to say that? Of course he's not. Of course he's not. People were saying, in all honesty, part of me is a little curious about what Russell T Davies' version of the show would have done with Jodie Whittaker's take, if you can call it that, on the character. That's something we're never going to know. But I will say this: if Russell had have wanted to work with Whittaker that badly, there was and is a window there. They could have easily have changed the schedule around so that she could have starred in this material that they've been shooting the last few weeks and not David Tennant. Forget about what people say. Watch what they do. Think about what their options were. The box is there. They've got the prop. They could have had Whittaker if they'd have wanted her.
Do you think, though, that they were so upset with Chibnall, they literally ousted him out of the edit and they got Russell T in?
It's possible.
to
It's unlikely, I suppose, because his name's going to be on the credits, isn't it? So it's unlikely, and he could be signing it all off remotely for all we know.
Happened before. Doctor.
But you've got to remember as well that this was done last year, and it was done part of their last set.
Yeah.
So it's a very much a Chibnall era episode with his team. They were all there. What happens when it's going through the edits and stuff like that? We will find out eventually through one day as to who was involved with that, and that's going to be really, really interesting to read all that when it comes out in the wash.
Well, the thing I was trying to say was that, do you think that it's all edited and then they got Russell T in to watch it to get his opinion on the
Yes,
last...
personally, I think that's exactly what's happened, and I think they've come back and said right. But I also believe, personally, not on behalf of this show or anything like that, I personally believe that we now know that plans go back to Christmas 2020 of Bad Wolf and Russell coming through with ideas and what they were going to do. So I actually personally believe that there would have been a hand in this last episode to say, right, we need it to get to here.
Oh yeah, sorry, I wasn't trying to put news on to anyone else. I was genuinely curious. Sorry.
So what was your point? Sorry, what did you want to say?
No, it's just because I realised that I'm the one that asked the question. I didn't want to make it.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. That's the whole point of the show.
I know, but I just didn't want to. Yeah, I wanted it to be, obviously making sure that it wasn't.
But we won't know for sure until it all comes out in the wash in the next few years, and it will come out in the wash, and that's when we will talk about it again.
It will. James A. Fitzpatrick says here that Russell T Davies knows about diplomacy. You invite people in, you don't drag them or kick them out.
Yeah,
that's a really beautiful way of putting it.
And I've got to go, everybody, while we're doing.
Thank you for your company again, Charlotte. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you next time, I hope.
See you next week.
Night.
Bye.
Tony L says, Ian, that where is it? Yes, I met Russell T Davies on my training run on Sunday. I said hi, and he said hi back. I didn't get a pic. He was on a walk, private time, I think, but it made my day. Good for you.
Nice.
Oh, that's lovely, Tony.
Out and about, always nice. We've got some more comments here from Matthew Pounder. Says, will Chris Chibnall leave it as he found it? I doubt it. It's very difficult to say because we do believe, some of us believe, I certainly believe, that Russell has likely had some sort of creative hand in what's going on.
Uncredited as well.
He won't be credited. We may not know for quite a while. Carol Jude says it's like he's showing support for the whole show. He has to.
Yeah, I mean,
it's their IP.
Yeah, and because he's a massive fan, he's passionate about the whole thing. There'll be certain things that he won't enjoy or won't like, but he's not going to express it now when he's taking the whole thing on again to give it a rebirth and start it again. So he's going to be. I mean, it was exactly the same about when he was talking about the late 80s, because he said, I stayed with it right through its dying days. I stayed right through it. I was there for the 1996 thing. And he was so positive about all that as well. It's just the man. It's just the way he is.
If you watch him in that show that they put on when the new series was starting, we know that he's not a massive fan of the Paul McGann movie. And yet in that half an hour documentary, he says some of that is some of the best Doctor Who ever made. He says, in the way that he does. He finds something positive to say, and you believe him. And I believe that the things that he says are correct. But you've got to think about the things that he doesn't say either.
It's included in the canon, isn't it?
And the general public, though, Ian, as well. The general public, we know all this. We know what Bad Wolf Studios is. We know what BBC Studios is. We know that there's been a changing of the guard. But to the general public, they're not going to know about that. All they recognise is who's in the frock coat this time. That's in many respects. That's all. Some of them are aware of who the writer is, or the showrunner. I think showrunner is a sort of abstract term that people kind of know what it is, but don't. But generally, the person in the street, all they see is the brand carrying on, and it's accumulating baggage. It's either up or it's down. People know when something is in favour and when it's not, just intuitively, Sarah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny today. Me and my youngest son Zach were randomly talking about Doctor Who, and he said, "When is that man coming back who made the Slovene and the adipose?"
Ah, bless.
That's it. I'm like, soon. And he's like, they were really good then, weren't they, Mum? I said, yes, they were.
It's enough for Simon Ashley, who says, as I'm a Russell T Davies fan, I will take his word for it, and I'll watch the centenary special. So he's having the desire it'll take a lot more than Russell saying that. I think, I'm a big fan of Russell's too, but I can take that. I think I recognise that for what it is. I won't read too much into that, but I think it could have that effect on the one show audience. Sure.
No, sorry, I was just going to say, I already know JT's answer, but who is going to be watching that? Because I will still
watch it.
Yeah, I will still watch it purely, and not even because RTD has said it's going to be great, because he said another thing was great, which I won't go into right now, which I thought was horrendous. But yeah, I was just wondering, just generally, because I know that some people have lost faith in the show and they will only watch it when RTD's back, and that's fine. But I was just genuinely wondering, for everyone in the chat as well, not just us, and why.
I'll watch the regeneration when it's on YouTube. but that's it really. I
Okay.
don't really consider this part of Doctor Who at all. This era.
Well, some people don't, yeah.
Yeah.
But I just think I can't remember who said it now, but I spoke about this a few times, so I'll be repeating myself. But I just think it's the very last one, and any Doctor's regeneration is exciting, no matter what you think of them, in my opinion. And I just will want to watch. If you're going to go out with a bang. If it's going to be, it most likely won't. But if it is the best episode that Chibnall and Whittaker have done, great, I'll watch it. Why not?
I think the thing is, Shah, as you quite rightly said, for better or worse, and whoever is involved, this moment in popular culture, and it could be that there's 2 million people or whether there's 20 million people watching, it is making television history. Each time this happens in Doctor Who, even if it doesn't make a massive impact at the time, in time, because of Doctor Who's cultural position, certainly in the UK, I can accept what people say about its presence overseas. I can accept that it may be dead in the States, but in Britain, it is a living, breathing part of popular culture, regardless of what's going on in the TV show. So that moment always has a certain currency. Richard Brooks asks in the chat here about reshoots. It was not possible for them to reshoot anything for that centenary special. It was all finished, and everybody was their contracts were not renewed. The production team was disbanded way back in September, October time. It was just absolutely out of the question, and that's not even involving the actors, obviously, because Jodie's had a baby since then too, so she just wouldn't have been available either. So it's
also,
not.
Just to address the point you and Charlotte were making there, Dan, about that. I mean, we're talking as fans. We have to understand that the public don't care. I can't see the public coming to watch off a Doctor that they haven't invested in, and that's a fact. The UK public, the Great British public, didn't like the Jodie Whittaker era. We saw that. That's proven. The ratings were incredibly bad. The last episode that went on, as we know, was the worst in Doctor Who's actual history. I can't see them coming back, Charlotte, for a regeneration, because nobody's invested in it and nobody cares. I do see them coming back for David Tennant.
They will.
Yeah, it's very telling that this has all happened. I mean, my God, we could be here for hours, couldn't we, to be honest? But the way that it was, Whittaker and Chibnall are leaving was way back, and then it was RTD's back. They could have had anyone, and it was RTD that came back as showrunner. I just find it very, very telling. But at the same time, I'm one of these people that will defend things even if I don't think, even when I don't think it's right, and I will still say that yes, okay, people aren't invested, and yes, it might be a small minority, but Jodie Whittaker is the Doctor to some people. Some people,
a small minority.
Yeah, very small.
At least she doesn't count. The entire era does not, as a long-term Doctor Who fan, it's bad enough watching Reboot Who for some of the episodes and what they're trying to do. Anyway,
I'm playing devil's advocate here, so I just think they're very, very clear.
I think the audience has dwindled, and you're right, Shah. There are a good 4 or 5 people on Twitter who do feel that Jodie is still the Doctor, but everybody else has moved on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And whether they wanted to, I know you are, but whether they wanted to or not, I think some people went there without even knowing they were going there. When these pictures of DT filming, it was so exciting to actually see something, and I think it reminded people of what they didn't realise they were missing. I know that sounds terribly smug, but it does.
A lot of the general public have kind of forgot that Jodie's still the Doctor, because it's been so long since anything's happened. She's out of the general consciousness, and then obviously you're getting these photos of David Tennant, and I do think it's out of sight, out of mind. And when Chibnall's not promoting it.
Well, it's all part of the moving on thing. I mean, I actually personally think that the BBC are very embarrassed that they've got to have one more to go, and they've tried to do what they can do by making this a 90-minute episode and trying to big it up. And I think nearer the time there will be this whole sort of 2 or 3 weeks marketing and saying this is coming on, this is coming on. And I think they will try and big that up. But nobody cares. We don't care. The fans have moved on. The majority of fans have moved on. The small minority of weird personal pronoun using people that are watching this era are leaving the show already. You can see that very clearly on Twitter. As soon as that incarnation's gone, they're not staying with it because they're all going. And then it's a case of we've from the BBC, we've got to get through this next one now, and then the big things over there, and we're really looking forward to that as well. I think there is a sort of embarrassment around about this at this time, and quite rightly too.
speculation.
I totally agree. I love playing devil's advocate though, but yeah, I totally agree. I mean, the way that you've had, I mean, they did the same with series 12, and they did the same thing with Flux as well. There was no marketing, nothing at all until the very, very late stages. I think you're right. I think it was probably about 1 or 2 weeks before it aired that we actually got anything from that.
And if you remember, Shaw, and that only got publicity because Stephen Moffat let slip about the Weeping Angels.
And I don't think that was let slip. I actually think that was planned, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think it was all staged. But also, Doctor Who is going to run the risk now. I say Doctor Who, please. The next episode is going to run the risk. This is not Doctor Who's anniversary. This is the BBC's anniversary. I've heard of some of the stuff they're doing. There's some really big blockbuster moments coming up for that entire anniversary. And a lot, allegedly, so I hear, of classic repeats. This show is going to get lost in that mix because everybody's going to want to see some of the bigger stuff that's coming, where programs from the entire 100 years of the BBC, radio and television, are coming together to celebrate the corporation's 100th anniversary. I think part of the reason this is now a 90-minute special is because they were, actually, we've got that to compete with and that to compete with from our own channel. There's some massive stuff coming up, and I think the public are going to go, oh, look, I remember that. I'm going to go and watch that. Oh, look, that's it. I'm going to go. Do you see what I mean?
Moons of Madness points out here. Moons of Madness points out here that they're betting that people will tune in expecting to see David Tennant or Ncuti Gatwa after all this hype. And then when they see Jodie Whittaker again, they may well be disappointed and switch off. I don't think that's an unreasonable thing to assume either, Shah, because of all this publicity and all this running around.
If I didn't know better, I would think the same. So I completely understand where it's coming from. If I was not the sort of fan that I was, and on the scale that I am, yeah, I'll tune in expecting that. But with the 90-minute special, JT, not just only because I know you've not watched the era. If it wasn't 90 minutes, anyone that has been a fan of this era, at least been following it, because imagine for myself and for you, Dan, it's a lot of time we've invested for not a massive amount of payoff. So it has to be at least 90 minutes because there is so much to tie up that probably won't come to fruition. And if it wasn't, it would have caused uproar.
If that's the case, if that's the case, it's going to fail because only the small minority that have watched the last few years are going to watch it. The public will turn off immediately thinking, I need to know what's happened before.
We saw Stephen Moffat. Stephen Moffat is a considerably better writer than Chris Chibnall is, and we saw him really struggle with that at the end of Matt Smith's tenure.
Oh, yeah. But there are other reasons for that as well. He had to contain it with an actor that wanted to go.
Yeah.
For the reasons we know about.
Yeah.
This
Carol
one
Jude
had a whole year to plan it out.
Carol Jude assures us that I have friends with zero interest in the show who are suddenly paying attention to what's going on. It's kind of insane. It has been. It was surprising to a lot of people how quickly the ship turned around. Now, Dave, they are presently filming more Doctor Who, the 60th anniversary material. We still don't know how many episodes they're going to be. It does look like there's going to be a minimum of 3. At the moment, they're in the studio filming. We don't know what and we don't know who. But we suspect that David Tennant's not there because Georgia Tennant recently shared this picture where he's still got the hair and the sideburns, but he's letting his beard grow. So kind of makes you think that he's not there. Whatever they're recording at the moment, Tennant isn't in the studio. Who is? Supporting cast?
Matt Smith.
Maybe another Doctor. I don't think we can rule it out. I don't think.
Matt Smith.
Glass of water for
Definitely
sure.
Matt Smith.
I don't think we can rule it out because obviously it's quite likely we're not going to know about. We talked about Matt Smith a couple of weeks ago. It's quite possible that we will only know about the actors and actresses if they're out in public. Anybody who they can keep within the 4 walls of Bad Wolf Studio, and it's completely under wraps until whenever they are going to do that. And fair play to them. I'm happy for that.
They have to. I mean, we've said before. I mean, and Russell just said there as well, they were trying to keep everything under wraps, but when you are going to the likes of Camden and you're going to the likes of Bristol and you're doing outsourcing, you're going to be seen. So you have to announce certain things. If you're in a studio, you don't. Quite frankly, it's none of our business until they want to. But we do know that there's going to be certain things, more things coming out as soon as the centenary edition, the special edition, or this 90-minute thing, whatever they're calling it, as soon as that's done, that's when it's then officially belonging to Bad Wolf and the BBC studios with Russell, and that's when they can put out more information. But it's still a long way to go. It's next year.
I know,
so,
I don't even want right now. Yeah, I'm very happy with whatever they want to give me as of right now.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. But I do respect them for trying to not do anything until Chibnall's era is broadcast and done and dusted, and then we can really forget it. I do try. It's difficult for them, but I do respect. They've kept an awful lot from us. They've done a great job, and I do respect them for doing that.
Even the little bit that they have actually spoke about has overshadowed Jodie's era.
Oh, totally. Because we're all looking forward to a new start.
Well, you heard Russell in that clip, I feel like I'm overshadowing him. It's because you fucking are.
Wow. Yeah, he is. It's kind of small sarcasm, isn't it, really? Let's face it.
We've got a comment here from Richard Brooks who says, he's lying. When the Type 40 Live t-shirts come, that has got to be one. People love that. That's one of Ian's many catchphrases on this show. Chimes into the Hugh Grant rumour from Easter. Absolutely love it. There'll be more talk about the 60th anniversary and maybe some more about the centenary special as we're going through the next couple of months here on Type 40 Live. We'll find out more. Maybe it'll be drips and drops. But I think the centenary stuff, and what you were saying there, JT, I believe the BBC will start shouting about that probably from the beginning of September with a sizzle reel, a package of some sort, which we'll be able to sample at some point.
Yeah, it's going to be from what I'm told about it. They are really going out for it on this publicity for their celebration. I mean, it is 100 years old. They should be shouting about it. They should be celebrating it. The BBC has made some superb stuff in the past. They have every right to shout about it. It's just a shame that not many of us still have a TV license. But who knows? I do think Doctor Who will be in that mix, but I feel it might get a little bit lost. Time will tell.
Be in that mix. I know what you're saying. It should be because it's such a big part of the BBC.
It's just a shame it's come at this particular bad time for the show.
Yeah.
It was their biggest seller until really quite recently. It still was this huge thing. Even there've been dips, obviously, but it was still their biggest seller and their most recognised brand. And I think apart from Downton Abbey, maybe I think it's been the biggest British export entertainment-wise of the last 15 years. But I think you would probably be pretty much neck and neck with Downton. I don't think there'd be a great deal in it. So to see it fall so spectacular
now because
two films as well.
It's had two films now. And they've done phenomenally well. And there's rumours that they are looking at doing the third and final one. So I think Downton's a wee bit ahead of Doctor Who now.
You could be right. But let us know what you think in the chat. What do you think about all this speculation? How down for this centenary special are you? If you gave up your TV license, as I did, maybe what would get you to take up a license again? Are you going to wait and see how the Russell T Davies era rolls out? Am I going to watch what, mate? Which one?
How are you going to watch the last Jodie one?
I will the same way I watched Flux. I'll go around to Shaw's. No, the same way that I watched Flux, I'm going to go around to my brother's, and that's not going to be enough. But when it comes to the Russell T Davies stuff, I'll play a straight game. I'll decide if it continues to look this good. I mean, having a TV license to watch one show, I didn't drop my TV license just because of Doctor Who. I know that's probably it's a very amusing way of looking at things. I dropped it because throughout 2019 I watched 2 shows and I hated them.
I got rid of mine last year. I think actually for a couple of years. Yeah.
So it's amazing meeting, because like next year I will be going to my mum's to watch the Doctor Who return. I can't see myself ever investing back with a BBC TV license because I just don't simply like the preaching that they do, and they insulted a lot of my friends. And then there's an awful lot of stuff that's still got to be sorted in the BBC, which is the way off, as you know, and they're not moving quickly enough to get my money back.
So just to check, actually on this panel then as a TV license.
I have one now. I got it back. Yeah, well,
I don't have one, but
your home does. So you've got one. So that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. And we have to always make sure that people are aware of that, because there could be people watching this. We are not breaking the law. We don't watch television if we don't have license. There you go.
I've said before that I watched one thing in 2019. I watched one thing on the BBC that I enjoyed, and that was a show called Bodyguard which starred Keely
That was
Hawes
all right.
and Richard Madden.
Oh, yeah.
It was brilliant. I loved it. And then
That's
I realised
up on Netflix.
Yeah,
it was
I
on,
watched it
on
on
Net-
Netflix.
It was on Netflix 3 weeks later.
Yeah,
And that's
I
why I
watched
thought,
it.
okay, this is ridiculous that I'm still paying this license fee when everything else. The other 2 shows I watched were Doctor Who, which I thought was bloody awful, series 12, and This Time with Alan Partridge, which was also horrendous. So I thought, okay. I don't watch Line of Duty. Charlotte is a massive fan, and so I'm gonna have to go back. But again, that's not actually made by the BBC. That's also made by an independent. It's also on Netflix.
Nothing's made by the BBC now. It's all farmed out to independents. It's just broadcast by the BBC. The BBC. Doctor Who was the last. Oh yeah, Doctor Who was the last show the BBC, to my knowledge. Maybe apart from children's television and stuff like that, but the last drama the BBC produced, and now it's out of the BBC's hands with BBC Studios and Bad Wolf. Even Strictly, which is a massive show to this day, is produced by BBC Studios. It's totally different setup, and it's something we can talk about later on in a different show.
Yeah, I loved it. Honestly, every day, every time I'm here, I learn something from you guys.
So do I, mate. So do I.
So do I.
Jason says, I'll watch the centenary special in the fetal position and drunk maybe on the central reservation.
Yeah. Tell you what, I'm going to be drunk afterwards. I think we'll all be celebrating.
The only thing I watched was Killing Eve. I don't know if you guys watched Killing Eve.
Killing
The first
Eve,
season.
The one with Trevor Horn.
Who did that one?
The first, it was ITV, or it was BBC America, wasn't it? Killing Eve.
No idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Took me ages to get into though, Ian.
I only watched season 1 and 2. The third season, just rubbish. The 4 points even worse. Yeah.
Mark Milford says, JT, the new All Creatures Great and Small is huge in the USA. The BBC passed
Channel
on that.
5. That's broadcast by Channel 5, and it's done by an independent production. It's nothing to do with the BBC. The BBC passed on it when they were offered it, I believe, back a few years ago. It's been a massive success over here for Channel 5. It's been renewed. It's going to have another series coming out this autumn. It's got Christmas special. They've renewed it for another 3 series, and good on them. And congratulations for Channel 5 for broadcasting a quality piece of British television. It's going to be even bigger as it moves into its next series because it's just television. There is nothing in it at all. It's just pure good storytelling, and good for them.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think of all this, about your TV license, about the centenary special, and about the 60th anniversary stuff. That diamond anniversary material that's coming when? We're not entirely sure. More talk here on Type 40 Live about that over the next coming months. Can't wait. I can't wait. And here we are again. Yeah, back in the closing segments of Type 40 Live, all done for the love of Doctor Who, and we're going to look at some fan art, some beautiful, pretty pictures, courtesy of some of fandom's greatest artists. And first of all, I wanted to, we talked about Bernard Cribbins earlier on, and I wanted to just have a little look at this. We've talked about Little Who Girl before on this show. One of fandom's youngest but most prolific of fan artists. Now, Little Who Girl, along with her dad, they travel to events up and down the country. And Rachel, she is, I can't remember how old she is. I think she's 9 or 10, something like that. But she draws these pictures of Doctor Who personalities in character and hands them to the actors in question. It's just the most nourishing thing. And there's one there of Bernard Cribbins as Wilf with the antlers on, Sarah.
Yes. Oh.
Absolutely wonderful. But she was sad because Bernard was meant to be at an event. He can't be there. That's how we know he's in hospital at the moment. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, she put this on social media along with a message of get well soon for Bernard. And I just thought that was worth taking a look at there. And by all means, follow Little Who Girl over on Twitter. It's very heartwarming. It's an antidote to all this sort of cynicism that we've been loading up on the last 20 minutes or so. I'd also like to suggest you follow Oliver Arkenstall, even Jones, if you haven't already. One of the best fan artists around, I think. And this is obviously a pastiche VHS video cover there, Ian. But it's for a story that was never on the TV. So we've got the Seventh Doctor and Ace, but with the Cybermen. And I think that looks like Peter Firth from Spooks.
A bit,
there.
yeah.
But obviously he's made this painting look like an old VHS cover. And but it's actually an old book, isn't it? This one, JT, Illegal Alien.
Yes, it was one of the first in the past Doctors range that's produced by BBC Books, written by Mike. It's actually it's not a bad story. I remember enjoying this. It's set in London around about the turn of the century, around about the 60s, from what I can remember. Involves the Cybermen. It's not a bad story at all. So yeah, if you can hunt it down, it's worth a read. And I know that Mike was actually delighted with this because he retweeted this as well, saying, "Oh my God, look at this!" But you see, again, I'm gonna say it again. BBC Books, Penguin, these are the sort of things you should be bringing onto the novels. But there you go. I'll go off my high horse on that one again.
I agree with you.
They're not listening, JT. They're not listening.
They're not. They're looking too much at branding. Branding gets on my nerves sometimes.
Again, a reminder that Oliver Arkenstall-Jones has his own Redbubble store, and you can get all of these designs as prints on T-shirts and various other bits and bobs. He's very prolific. Movie posters, faux movie posters in the Italian style of old horror movies and things like that, or Hammer Horror. He does all that stuff. So we featured Oliver's work on the show several times, and each one is absolutely a big wow from me. And there's something about these VHS tapes that it's my era, really.
It takes you back, doesn't it? It takes you back.
I know. I threw away a couple. Was it like about 10 years ago? Now I'm thinking I shouldn't have thrown them away at all.
Well, to be honest, they're not worth anything.
The Five Doctors. Five Doctors. I threw that away.
The original Revenge of the Cyberman from 1983 is in the wrong cover. Is the only one that's worth any sort of money, and it's not that much. The rest of them are just not worth it. It's like DVDs now. They're not really worth much now.
No, yeah.
No,
I've noticed that. Bang up to date now with one of the latest works from the fan artist. Well, actually, no, that's not fair. Professional artist Rafesky. Now, Rafesky, he produces covers for Big Finish, for various ranges of Big Finish, but he also takes to Twitter and publishes complete sort of artworks that are not related to any product at all. Sometimes just things that he's sort of warming up doing, or itches that he wants to scratch. And he's one of many artists who've been stimulated by the Ncuti Gatwa casting and is imagining what Ncuti could wear. So we're back to clothes again. This is his take on where and how we could see Ncuti appear as the Doctor at some point in the future. He's wearing a roll neck there, Ian. Now, for years, I've been suggesting multiple Doctors should. I'm suggesting Matt Smith should wear a roll neck. Peter Capaldi should wear a roll neck. I'd certainly put Jodie in a roll neck as long as I could sort of pull it up over her head.
Looks like he belongs in a country mansion, doesn't he? It's that sort of thing, isn't it? The way he's dressed there.
Well, that's an interpretation we've never had from any of the actors. Something quite, the Master of the House type thing. We've never quite had that one.
I think he'd rock that look as well.
I think you would, yeah.
I'd be worried about him filming in the summer.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a nice
one. He'll just take the roll neck off and just keep the jacket.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, it's my wish that we've said it before that we ditch the costume, go back to clothes, so we have a kind of thing, a general wardrobe that the Doctor wears that just has a look. The David Tennant Doctor, in particular, is a brilliant example of that. Swapping the t-shirts, swapping the shirts, different suits, and they did that with Matt Smith as well, didn't they? As the series moved, and Capaldi. Yeah. Capaldi. I had a Joe Biden moment then. Capaldi did that a lot, didn't he? Various different shirts and hoodies, and in the end coats too. So that's what I like. I like the same silhouette but different detailing, and I don't know what they're going to do with shooting. That's another thing that really excites me about the future of Doctor Who.
We'll find out.
I think he needs a hat. I can see him pulling off a hat. We haven't had a hat Doctor Who for ages.
Really?
Yeah, I think he could do it with the right
I don't see it personally, but
I don't see it.
I can see it, Sarah. I can see that. And there's been various fan images where they plugged a hat on him, and yeah, I mean, Ncuti's proved he can wear anything.
His costume as a hat. You heard it here first. I'm just going to put that there.
This is what interests.
Put it out there.
This is what interests me about this choice of actor, though, Ian. Because I still haven't seen him really act apart from that console game ad, and yet everything I'm seeing about him, you said he could he could wear anything. Somebody's just said that he could wear anything. And
Yeah.
from what I'm hearing, this guy's got quite a range for a 30-year-old actor. He could play it any one of a number of ways. The idea that I have no idea how he's going to play the part, what he's going to wear, where it's going to go, I just find that really, really exciting. So every bit of fan art that I see, you know, I think I'll maybe like that. I'll probably have another favourite next week.
It also depends on how Russell's written him, i.e. the Doctor.
Of course,
Exactly.
of course. Now, the last fan artist that I want to talk about, she was in the live chat earlier on YouTube. I think she may have gone now. She might be fed up of waiting. But this is the work of Beatrice Garrido. Now, she's an artist, a translator, and a multimedia producer. She works on another Doctor Who show podcast. And she's also been putting out work onto Twitter is where I saw this first. But it's hard to explain exactly what it is. So I'm just going to show you. This is beautiful artwork, portraits of Doctor Who stars, Sarah. So these are on actual pages of vintage paperbacks. So with that beautiful sort of golden hue that old books tend to have. And Beatrice works directly onto the pages of the books in acrylics. And we got this one here of Carol Ann Ford on the
She
the
does
front
it directly
page.
onto the books.
Yeah.
Not on my collection.
Beautiful. I would love that. I actually watched that episode last night.
It's have to be on a different piece of paper for me, love. I tell you.
Now, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure how she gets through this process. Obviously, some of it may be digital too, because I know she offers. I think she's offering them up as prints now. Again, there'll be a link in the description and the show notes for you to follow it through to Beatrice on social media. Yeah, there's this one of Carol Ann Ford there, as Susan, as you so rightly said there, Shah, and we've got this one too of Katie Manning as Jo Grant.
Gorgeous. Yeah. Is she actually removing the page from the book?
That's what I intend on finding out when I talk to Beatrice at some point in the future.
Who made that noise? That was wonderful.
But I love that cover image. Says Carol Jude. This is going down very, very well. Yeah, those are great. Says Carol. Theta Sigma says, "Wow, that's amazing." Nice one of Carol Ann, says Peter Harrington. Richard Brooks simply says, "I love it, Beatrice." Fabulous. Crimpling the Blue. These are going down really, really well. I've never seen anything quite like this, JT, and I've seen a lot of Doctor Who fan art.
I mean, the artwork is lovely, but absolutely, I don't agree with them being painted straight onto these books. I mean, look at that. You're actually taking over all the print on that and the author's name. I get why it's being done, and the art is gorgeous, but no, it'd have to be
Might
separate.
be digital.
No way. I mean, I wasn't very happy when Terence Strix grabbed a book and signed it. I was like, oh, excuse me. The artwork is lovely, but I don't agree with them being on the actual.
It might be digital.
Yeah, if it is indeed,
Yeah,
hand painted, but I don't
looks
think
like it. Yeah.
We have Jack Thursby agrees with you. Says great portraits. Not sure about the painting onto vintage Target novel. James A. Fitzpatrick says those are cool. And Richard Brooks says I really like them. We've got a wow from Peter Harrington. Amazing.
If she released these as the prints, I would buy that above anything else that JT showed us today.
I'd buy that as well.
They are beautiful. If you've got a favourite companion, or just a favourite book, or favourite story show, you know, if you see one of the classics, you think, oh, you know, even if you're not a big reader, I think there's something about this. I know what you mean, JT. I do. I'd be, oh, no, you're not going near my book. No, it's my book. But maybe there are more of these in circulation than I know.
Thin, and they are so delicate now.
That's
There's nothing left forever.
That's what's making me think it's not hand painted though, especially with acrylic, because that would just go straight through.
Why would the paintbrushes be there?
That's what I'm saying. I think it's digital.
Really,
I don't think it's.
Beatrice, you're going to have to come and talk to us at Type 40. We'd love to know more about your process. And the artistry is without question. It's exquisite. So, well, I mean, I just love the colour here in Liz Sladen's cheeks there. It's just beautiful. And it captures
artwork like that should be on a cover, not in a book.
But it's got the Instagram thing at the bottom of that page. So I'm assuming all that's digital. She hasn't really pulled a page out of the book. It's just, I don't know. I'm guessing.
It's like her style, isn't it?
I don't know. Yeah, she'll have to let us know, or we'll have to find out at some point, because part of me now won't sleep.
Imagine you can put acrylic paint on paper such as thin as that.
But it's not. It looks like pencil. It doesn't look like paint at all. It looks like she's used pencil.
The public want to know, Beatrice. Come and tell Type 40 about your process. I'm genuinely interested. It's beautiful. It's beautiful art, though. Well, I can't wait to see what you do next. Maybe Adric on Full Circle. That could be a good one. But if any of those have taken your fancy, there will be all of the links so you can go and follow Oliver and Beatrice and Little Who Girl and all of the other fan artists that we talk about here on Type 40 Live. Will connect you with them and them with you, and it'll all be a big expanded party and collection of companions. And don't tell them where you heard about them too. That's only fair, isn't it? Instagram and Twitter at Type 40 Doctor Who if you want to get in touch with us. And share the content too. Please like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to this channel. Who wouldn't? And share the videos. Hit the cluster bell so you get the notifications about what we're doing next and when. It could be another live stream like this, or it could be a podcast. Another podcast coming up next week. Several recorded now. A couple of great interviews, some good features, and more reviews of brand new Doctor Who, of classic Doctor Who too, and some trips sideways in time as well. More about that another time. And there's that second Dalek movie too. We'll be talking about that in a couple of weeks. Don't miss that. Let's go and have a look in the live chat one last time and see what people are
saying. Making an appearance though. No, not quite.
Thank you, distinguished panel. Great show, folks, says Richard Brooks. Thanks for being here, Richard. Fantastic.
Thank you, Richard.
Adric splatted, he says. Oh, poor Adric yet again. Oh, people still reeling from the Target novels. No one touches my dear Target novel.
No.
Yeah, but people did love the Liz Sladen portrait. Well, yeah, that's good stuff.
It is nice.
Little Who Girl shirt. I need one. So Little Who Girl or Little Who Girl's dad, if you're watching, I think there could be a market here for shirts if you listen to Cam Cam's Crash Course.
So definitely give him a follow. She's adorable.
Sweet kid, isn't she? Yeah. There's another lad. There's a lad who goes from down the country too, dressed as John Pertwee's Doctor Mainly. I think he's around the same age. I think his name's Berryman or something like that. It's just wonderful stuff. Just
let me know. I love seeing little kids loving it. It really, really warms my heart.
Ugh.
Thank you. Thanks for a brilliant show tonight, says Tony. Oh, thanks for being here, Tony. And Peter Harrington says, "Oh, it's gone quick tonight. No smutty remarks on Type 40. You must be thinking of somebody else, mate." Peter, he's also put in a request there, Beatrice, one of Victoria.
Yes,
oh, bless her.
Who knows where that's going to go. Okay, yeah, it's been another wild ride again. Let us know what you think of all of this, all the fan art, and our speculation too about all those specials. Yes. The merchandise paradise selections from the wonderful JT there, which are going to make it to your collections, which you're pulling the trigger on. Let us know. Let him know over on our social media. And what do you think of that Doctor Who film? Doctor Who, well, two Doctor Who's versus those giant cow-eating crabs. And there's tanks and all that stuff going on.
And king crab.
If you're going to see the Dalek films on Sunday, have a great time at the cinema watching the Peter Cushing movies. First time in decades they've been seen in all their glory at the cinema. And send us your photos of you at the pictures, going in or in there or having a cornetto or whatever you're doing. Send us your pictures.
That'd be me.
Yeah, Ian's going for the cornettos, not the film.
And it's shown at Cineworld, where I live. It's shown at Cineworld, so I might.
Apparently, some of the Whovians are as well, Ian. So it's great. And there was a few somebody mentioned last week, wasn't there? So if you are going, enjoy them.
Have a local
It's been it's been a great show. Again, fantastic to have you back with us, Sean. I'm so glad you're feeling better.
Thank you
I know you're in the middle of a move. Hope to have you on again soon, whenever you can make it. It's always a pleasure.
I love
Ian,
it. Thank you.
Same goes to you, my friend. Thanks for your contributions, as always, from the Megaverse. JT from Merchandise Paradise. I know you've had a hot one up there. He's been Zippy. He's been fanning all night in the Doctor Who loft, and it's great to have you back to Starry-Eyed Girl, Sarah Graham. We've missed you. It's not going to be 2 months again, is it? Till the next time.
No, you stuck with me now. And can I just say,
it's liar.
To talk to Shaw, actually face to face.
It's lovely to talk to you.
I've only ever done it on Twitter, so it's lovely to be able to talk to you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, don't forget, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and pass it along. Nobody does it better here at Type 40 Live, where we always have the time if you have the space. Where is it?
Subscribe.
There it is. Just like the man says.